I'm Scott Miller. It is Thursday night, and this is Nicaragua Live. Welcome to the show, and I apologize that we are running really late this week. I was hoping to start at least an hour ago, and we didn't. And that's just how it is. Sometimes it has been a really rough week and a very long day. And we're just getting started, so I hope that people will be hopping on soon. I have not had a chance to really eat today. I did just have something. And of course, we're having network problems once again. Hopefully you guys are going to get the stream. I can tell. So hopefully we're getting people pretty soon. I'm going to move this over out of the way so I have to see my controls and stuff. Pretty. It's very strange. I have to double check that. We're going to take a look while we're doing that. So everybody, how was your week? What do we got going on? Actually on is not working. No wonder. Everybody talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to go take a look at that and see if I can figure it out real quick. What's plugged in? Obviously, it's plugged in. Anyway, sorry for the network problems. It's dead. On this end, it is. But it's really hard to figure out what's going on. So, I don't know. Nothing's going on in the house. No one's uploading anything. No one's doing anything. Do you have a bad connection, or is it me? It's me, Patricia. That's what I was afraid of. Yep, having bad connections tonight. Whatever you did last week to try, let's try to resolve it. Still images. There's really not much to be done if they're having national link problems. We're going to do a test and see how reliable it is. Yeah, I'm getting some serious buffering on this end. Yep, and I can see the cache is full on my broadcast equipment. Sadly, when it does this, there's really just like nothing we can do, because it's not a problem with my house. It's a problem with somewhere far upstream. So we're just kind of hoping it clears in a little bit. I'm getting what looks like okay traffic going out. It may just be that the link is really busy. The country runs on a single link. We don't have a lot of separate links to the outside world, so it's easy to end up with isolated problems from time to time. And it tends to work fine when we're on. Nope, even now, on the still image, our cache is full, which means we're not getting adequate bandwidth even now. But if I do a speed test in country, I guarantee we have plenty of bandwidth. So the issue is the national link. Patricia says, I got Chick-fil-A for dinner. They have a great side salad with avocado ranch dressing. I do love an avocado ranch dressing. A number one savage. Hey, Scott, I'm flying into Managua on Wednesday morning. That's coming up in just 6 days. That's soon. I got my shiny new passport, all is well. I'm on 6-day tour with the ECI development. That's awesome. Yeah, we talked about that you needed the new passport. Glad you were able to get that. That is good news. Good news indeed. All right, the cache is, what's it doing? Oh, no, it's going down. It's in a good direction, but it's not. Yeah, Edwin, starting with technical difficulties. Not fun. This sucks, but we made it a lot of weeks. A lot of weeks with no problems. So now we have 2 weeks in a row, which is not making me happy. But maybe we've been saving these up. Flying in soon. This is RM. Flying in soon. Will I have any problems getting a private ride from the airport to Leon? No problem as long as you book ahead of time. Private rides are really easy to get, but they're not waiting at the airport. That's the only thing. Patricia says, "Oh no, not with the super fast Nicaraguan internet." It's true, Patricia, but my internet here is fast. It's somewhere else that's slow. So I'm assuming it's a national link, but let's go to speed test. See what we get. It connected. That's a good sign. Allow. Yes, allow. That's why I clicked on it in the first place. Oh, we are not getting normal speeds. Okay. That's definitely a problem. That is in country, I think. I assume. Yeah, it must be. Yeah, Managua. Now, upload looks good. We should have plenty of speed for upload, but download is quite curtailed. No, all of it's pretty slow, though. We are we are not operating at normal efficiency. Not even close to where we were last week, so... Now, according to this, Reddit is currently having a problem. Is that like a... Yeah, but that's not affecting us. Just interesting point of reference. All right, it says my cache is okay. We're gonna fire this up and just see what happens. See how quickly it freaks out. Luke in a Tom Hanks voice. Oh, Patricia says call the president. Luke says in a Tom Hanks voice, check one. Sibilance. It has been such a busy day. I left the house early this morning, and not early, but 10, and was doing a quick errand, and I literally was late getting here for the live stream. That's how busy my day was, and the whole week has been like this, just awful. Not bad thing. No, it's been pretty bad. And there we're having issues again, according to YouTube. My broadcast stuff says we're okay, but we'll see. I need a bottle of wine this week. So what's up with you guys? I've only got a few people. Oh, by the way, we're doing a short stream this week. Short, a few hours, but we're not going past 10 p.m. at all. And we're not doing a separate daily today. This is our daily for the day because I literally lost the entire day, and I have to be in the car at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning to do things that are not fun in Managua. And so I am going very early out there and need some sleep. So I'm going to get off here at around 10 o'clock our time here is my plan, and I am going to go directly to bed. It has been a long week. Closing all my extra tabs. I seem to not need them all. Audio is clear. That's good to know. At least something's working. Yeah. We had a pretty good week on the show, I think. RM, where do I go to get a private ride, and what would be the cost from the airport to Leon? Any idea? So typically, RM, easiest thing to do is talk to your hotel or wherever you're staying and have them arrange a ride. Often they'll have deals or something that they just have. If you can tell us where you're staying, I might be able to tell you who they use. But if you need, let me know privately, and I can send you the information of someone who does private rides. It's not a big deal. Typically from the airport, I think you're going to pay around about $100. It's a couple-hour drive. They have to wait for you. It's a whole day, and it's a lot of fuel. So $100 is actually really good considering you're taking someone's entire day and using their car and using their fuel. Edwin says, yes, Scott, for me it has been a tough week at this point. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Luke says, your buffering is back to buff again. Does that mean it's good or bad? On mine, it's so delayed that I can't tell what's going on. No buffering on the advertisements. Great. Good to know it's showing ads without telling me. That's useful. Super useful. Donald Johnson is here. Oh, Edwin says, as a football soccer fan especially. Donald says, I still want to find a 2-bedroom apartment or house that's very reasonably priced. Hopefully around $100-something is what I heard it would be for the town of Leon. Yeah, Donald, if you're looking for a long-term, unfurnished, yes, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath around, not in downtown, but around Leon, should be available in the $100-something range. Absolutely. But never will something under $200 ever appear online? You'll always have to appear in person to have any hope of getting that. I mean, that's just... Why is it focused on the background constantly? Like, clearly this is my face. And I'm like... Every time I look away, it's like, that camera in the background is sexy. Let's look at the camera. I mean, I don't need some co-star stealing my thunder. All right? He's fired. It's okay, baby. I still love you. Am I in focus now? A little bit. What is it doing? It doesn't normally do this. 104 and a wake up. Luke is on the countdown. Donald says yes. So Donald, the best place, in my opinion, for low-cost housing, if you... All right, I'm making a camera change. I'm making a executive decision. See what happens. Sorry, I moved it from film mode to vlog mode, and the important thing is with vlog mode, it's supposed to prioritize my face and not random crap in the background. That's the story of my week. Okay. I should be there within the next few weeks or less, Donald Johnson says. No, Edwin, it's not a new cam, but I would like one, should anybody. No, I love this camera, but this is the XS20 and the EM5 just released. I've got like just enough wrong. I'm like, that's not how my beard should look. The EM5 just released, I think that's right, and it looks so cute. It's the same sensor, same processor, same lens mount, blah, 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 but it doesn't have the stabilization, but obviously I'm on a tripod, so it doesn't matter. But it uses the same fan, which is perfect, and it's like half the cost, and it's smaller, and it would be perfect for my mounted stuff, and then this is more of my field cam. I'd kind of like one. Arm says, thanks for the info. TJ says, hi, Scott and everyone. Hey, TJ, good to have you here. Donald Johnson, the place that I like best for low-cost houses that's good, safe, clean, blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously, you can find things in any barrio. You'll be able to find something in the hundreds. Actually, the biggest challenge in the barrios is that most of the places are a little bit on the large side, right? Like, it's the biggest struggle is that most are just too big, right? Like a 2-bedroom is just hard to track down in the barrios. You might be able to find something bigger for under 200 in the barrios. Like that may not be a problem. But while some barrio houses are baller and really cool, the majority are quite significantly not baller and cool. If I was trying to be on a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, sub $200 budget in the city of Leon, almost completely certainly, I would want to either really, really take a gamble on a barrio place because I kind of like barrio living, or go to Casa Leon. Casa Leon is just the place for low-cost, reasonable housing, especially for expats in Leon. It's so hard to beat. There is another place like it, but I haven't been able to go there yet, but their prices should be like the same. Their houses should be like the same. Like basically it should be like a copy, right? Like I'm not saying it's going to be wildly different. I'm just saying it's a few streets away. But should be really, really close. I forgot to bring my laptop. I am discombobulated this week, guys. I am sorry. It has been rough. Patricia's like, I told you to unplug everything and plug it back in again. Including the cameras, apparently. Oh, wires. Oh, there's shoes on my... Video's been solid for the last 5 minutes. Audio is still great. Okay, good. Good. We're getting there. Slowly and unsurely. Emphasis on not getting there. Edwin said, am I still on camera? I am. Edwin says, Christmas is coming, Scott. And Natral already are decorating Avenida Boulevard, Plaza de la Revolucion, Nacional Palace, in Old Cathedral Central Park, and Plaza Nicaragua Waterfront. Christmas is near. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that this year. Like, I am most absolutely definitely heading out to film Managua for Christmas this year. My kids really like doing that. Sorry for the arm and stuff. I should have a hammer, then we could have like an ad. I'm getting maps for Don Johnson in case anyone is wondering what I'm doing. I did not have a chance to bring this up and have my map system ready, but I like having these maps. It is one of my new favorite things in all this stuff that we've been doing, and stuff and things and all that. Yeah, Edwin, my kids really like going to the city. Just like any excuse to go to Managua, they enjoy. But going for like the Christmas stuff, they really like that because they do. 1, we go Christmas shopping. 2, we hit the restaurants. And 3, they really like to go see the decoration. So it really is fun. Like, it's cool because they do some really serious decorations that we're not used to in the part of the United States we're from, at least maybe other parts do. I've never lived anywhere that did the kind of decorations that Managua does. And so that's pretty cool. We like that. So we tried to do that, and let's see if I can figure out where we're trying to find it on this map before I show it to you guys. Aha! Yeah, there it is. We're all good. Okay, let me see if I can... Oh, we are up. It is working. The magic that is the black magic. That's actually the name of the product we're using. Okay. So, guys, hopefully the map comes up without a problem. Oh, hey, Dodd. Hello. So Donald Johnson, this is Leon. So the word Leon is in the middle of the screen. Hopefully that gives everyone a point of reference. And sorry. Oh, YouTube is not receiving enough video. Now it's complaining. Now we're showing a static image. Like, come on, YouTube. Do better. So in this image, I can move a mouse around and you should be able to see it. This is downtown, this kind of light yellowish area here. This is the river coming through. Sutiava is way out here to the west. And, John is here from Playa Tesoro. Halloween party in Las Penitas. Sounds cool. Yeah, John, are you coming up? We got to hang out. That'll be a chance for us to hang. For anyone who hasn't heard, I'm going to come back on. November 2nd, which is Dia de Muertes, Day of the Dead, we are throwing an epically large and drama-filled, as promised, party on the beach at Desperados. And this is going to be the party. We know Caracolitos is having a party. They have high charge to get in. Great people. Go visit them. Encantiki is throwing a party that I didn't hear about, but it makes sense. Great guy that owns that. Go visit them. But the big party is at Desperados. We've heard that there are 3 buses so far booked to bring people just to that from the city. So 3 full buses apparently are coming. Plus a lot of people are just coming on their own. And some people are coming from the beach. They don't need a bus. So, yeah, should be pretty epic. We heard just tons of people are... Well, I literally came from Sundance today. Sundance is shutting down early so their entire staff can go out to the beach to go to the party. So, yeah, this is going to be cool. John, you should come up. It'll be a really good time. You get to meet all kinds of people. And sorry, John, I know you wanted to be on the live stream this week. I'll have to explain later why there was no way that was going to be possible this week and probably not next, but I do want to do that. I hope you're around for a little bit so we can totally do that. That would be a lot of fun. It's been a week. I'll tell you offline. Okay, before I get to the other stuff, I'm going to jump back to this map and talk about, okay, so this is for Donald Johnson. Well, for anyone who's looking for really reasonable Leon housing. If you come down here on Route 3 towards the bottom, hopefully you can see my mouse on the screen. I think you can without a problem. There's this area here, which says Urbanización Via Casa Leon. This area, now this is not on the main highway. Look carefully, it is one road off of it. So you're not going to drive down the highway and see it. You're not going to just like stumble on it, right? It's off just a little bit, but it's easy to get to. And if Larry's on, he lives right next to it. We were at his place this morning hanging out. And so this area is really, really nice. And I'm going to zoom in. Now that we've had a little bit for you guys to see it. If I can get the... There we go. I'm just going to zoom in just a tiny bit. Now you can see that it is a real development. And I'll give it a second, and then I'm going to jump over to the satellite view. So it's surrounded by fields, which is actually pretty cool. And this is a pretty densely packed area. It is not gated. I know it looks like it would be gated, but it's currently not. This entrance down here is open, but you enter through this open boulevard with a long line of houses. So it gives a lot of sense of being gated. Like the main bulk of houses that you would look at are pretty private and already off of a secondary road. And there is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 currently north-south roads. They've got a couple east-west roads on the end, and they are expanding in multiple directions. So like you can see the field in the west is starting to be taken over. And there's an extra little entranceway that they've added at the front. So this area is pretty cool. It's very safe. It is entry-level middle class. So you're getting people who are, elderly and have saved up, or younger people who are, starting their professional careers, or people who are just breaking into middle class, a lot of little kids. It's decently quiet, quite safe, nice neighbors. It's a nice neighborhood to be in. I really like it from a really easy way to make good local friends kind of place. Like it's easy to hang out with neighbors there. I have friends who live in here. I have been there a number of times. I really like it. Like the roads are a little bit tight. Like it's not perfect. It's definitely a entry level middle class kind of community. So you're not looking at big, there's 1 or 2 big houses in there, but in general they're pretty small. Not a lot of businesses in there. So you're not going to, I know it shows like a pizza place and whatever. Those are people selling pizza out of their house, just to be clear. But that's cool. And there's like a mini super out of someone's house or something. Like it's all very, very small. But I think you'll find that this has a lot of really nice potential because you've always got neighbors who are looking out for you. There's always security in the area. You're not on your own. You don't have to deal with a lot of community problems. It's a nice place for a lot of people. And it is a really, really, really solid cost savings area because the cheapest that we've found, this is about a year ago, so maybe assume prices may have come up like $5. But a year ago, we did the Pink House tour. I think it was the Pink House. I know we did the Pink House tour there. I think it was the Pink House was $145. And basically every house that we looked at there that was 2-bedroom was under 200. I'm not sure any was over 185. And so talk about affordable and like just what a great like combination of things. Not that far from the city, has a bus stop in it. That's a big deal. Like you want to take the public transportation, it comes into your complex. You don't have to go out and wait on the road or anything. You've got neighbors, so like you're unlikely to have major problems because there's people around. There's just a lot of good in this kind of community, and even if it's not what you want long term, it's going to be the kind of place where you can pretty easily get in and set up life and get acclimated and then explore the city at your leisure and make further decisions as to what you do and don't like. But I think it's a really kind of low-key introduction to living in Nicaragua at all, let alone Leon. Patricia says, I don't think I want to be that close to my neighbors. It is pretty close. Nicaraguans tend to be really close to their neighbors. There's not too many places where you're going to find a lot of space between them. Even quite expensive developments have a tendency to be like shared walls or basically touching each other. It's just people don't have that desire to be far away from their neighbors, so it doesn't really come up much. Donald Johnson says, where would I find a listing of rentals in Leon? You won't. Never found one. In all these years, everyone asked, nothing is wanted more. Never found anything of the sort. Every so often you'll find something on like Facebook Marketplace, but they're few and far between. They're very misleading. Information is generally wrong. I do have a real estate agent that I wouldn't say I work with him, but he's a nice guy and he has had a number of listings. Remember, seller's agents and buyer's agents are different things. He is a seller's agent and does a lot of rental stuff. So I would never, ever, ever go hire a real estate agent to do stuff for you. But if he's an agent who has listings, he can show them to you, right? Does that make sense? Like you're using someone else's agent. He's not your agent. Keep in mind, he's not your agent. He does not represent you. He is not going to look out for your interest. He's a nice guy. He's not out to screw you, but he is just representing his clients. That's what he's doing, and he's trying to convince you to take one of the places. But that said, he's definitely who I would be most likely to go to. And completely coincidentally, I was helping Jimmy go see a place. I didn't help him find a place, but he was going to a place that I'm familiar with, and where Larry lives. So we got there before his agent, and we stopped by and hung out with Larry while we were waiting. And when we got to his place, it turned out that Danny, my friend, was the agent. So I just put his Instagram in there. He will respond. So if you do want to reach out and see stuff that he has, but typically he's going to have more expensive listings, as agents would, right? There's very little incentive for agents to have $100, $200 listings. Like, it's just impossible to make money. But he may, right? Or he may know of stuff or whatever. Video at Green Realty is good in Leon too. Solid guy. I have not met him. It's funny that he's at Green Realty because Danny is with Red House. But I would hold out for Blue Lagoon. They're going to be the ones to go. No, I made that up. That was supposed to be a joke. I'm told sometimes I'm too dry and people can't tell when I'm joking because that's the magic of a good joke. Luke did say, how did you like the 45th anniversary ceremony for the National Police? I actually didn't get to see it. There was a lot of confusion and not good guidance on where we could be and where we couldn't be, and we ended up coming in from the backside of it. So we were we saw it happening, but we didn't get to actually see it. So I didn't get to see the official one. How do I say this? I didn't get to see the big one you saw on TV, except from a distance and kind of ancillarily. But that was a Tuesday, I think. So it wasn't the next day, but the day after. I got to actually go to a branch of the ceremony, a regional version of the ceremony, and it was actually really cool. And it's actually a very kind of private and personal thing. I know that they show that thing on TV, right? So that it's a little bit less personal because it's on TV. But the one I got to see was here, and it was really cool because it was basically just family, and these are people weren't firemen, policemen. Firemen are part of the police department, that's how they grouped. People who work in the corrections facilities, that's not what they call it here, but the penitentiary system, all that stuff. And this is these are their jobs. This is their careers. This is, and they're there with their families, and they're all super proud because they're being promoted. Everyone who's there is either someone who's being promoted or someone who's promoting them, right? Their boss might be there giving them the promotion. And it was it wasn't a very long thing, but I really felt this really nice personal, wow, this was a really cool thing to have gotten to see, and it was nice getting to share this really touching moment with it was 230 people getting promotions, but it was a really touching, nice ceremony. It was all really beautifully laid out, but there weren't camera crews at that one. There were a few people snapping pictures officially, but it was honestly, while the big one in Managua, sure, is on TV and has a lot more pomp and circumstance, and that's cool. I think it was a lot more personal, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was hot. We were sitting out in the sun, and you're like, whew. But they had snacks and water, and people were handling everything, and it was really nice. It really was. So yeah, Luke, it was really cool. But I found out they're not open to the public, so because it's a promotion ceremony. It's a little bit confusing because the word for the ceremony is also the word for parade, and so it's easy to translate it wrong. So you think there's going to be a procession, but there's not a procession. It is, you said it right, it's an anniversary ceremony. It's the 45th promotion ceremony. So once you have that expectation that this is a quiet, not solemn, right? That would be the wrong. It's not sad in any way or nothing like that. But it's an official celebration of the people who are moving up in their careers, and it was really cool. It was really was. Edwin says, I saw a lot of videos of TikTok and Facebook with a lot of motorcycles and cars seized and taken to the lot by traffic national police as a result of finding expired or renewed licenses. I've seen people out. I wouldn't say it's massively more than normal, but I've definitely seen more than normal inspection stops. I know I was stopped, and all my paperwork's good, so it's fine. And it was my first time being stopped where I was the driver, but I had my cedula, and I'm all I have a cedula. I got to visit my local guys, so they're like, you got a cedula, cool. But I had to open the trunk and show that I had my reflectors and all that, but which I don't normally have to do, so it does feel like they're doing a bit of the extra checking on everything. But I don't follow how many are really being taken. Arm says, any recommendations on places to visit and eat while I'm in Leon? I will only be in Leon a few days. I've been wanting to do a video on restaurants of Leon. I really wanted to dig into that a little bit. So let's do a little bit of a preview. And gonna say I'm gonna miss something good. I'm gonna start off with one that I kind of have to say because they watched this live stream. Go to Twins in Sutiava. This one is nice for a couple of reasons. Hold on. And Twins is one of those old families. I've heard they're like one of the old Leon families. I don't know their background. They have a beautiful spot right off the Sutiava Plaza. So it's a bit to the west. It's not what you expect, but it's like iconic for like old school Leonese. Like you gotta check it out. It is really cool, and good steak, great venue, great service, air conditioned, glass enclosed, cool location just off the Sutiava Plaza. Neat. Go there for a late dinner. Figure that's one of your fancy dinners. You got to go to El Cesteo, which is on the main plaza, like the main plaza in Leon. It's not my favorite place to eat, but they always do a solid job. It's never bad food. It's never bad service. Prices are a little bit high, but they're on the plaza. You're paying for the view, and the view's great. Look to go during a time when it's slow because the plaza gets loud. So Steo is never going to get loud, but the plaza is going to, and that will potentially annoy you. So just try to schedule around that. But they've got a big menu. Everyone goes to Sesteo. So those two are key. Who else is really good? There's some places that treat people really badly, and so we're going to make sure we don't mention them, but I won't mention them. Janet really likes De Umo. They're on the main drag west of the city. That is smokehouse and steakhouse. Nice people, do a good job. I'm going to forget like awesome people. Go to Sundance. Really nice people own that. They have an eclectic menu and a beautiful setting, and I spent the day hanging out there, so shout out to them. They're not watching. It would be nice if they were, but they're not. But that's where Jimmy is right now, and Marcella. They're at Sundance right this second. But really nice people over there. The El Convento, which is the monastery, they are a beautiful setting, a bit more expensive. I mean, it's Nicaragua, right? It's not bad, but they do a great job. Nice menu, air conditioned, beautiful gardens in the middle, so that's something pretty cool. Presumably, you'll be here for breakfast if you're not getting. If you're not getting breakfast with your hotel or Airbnb or whatever, I guess Airbnb wouldn't, a B&B would. It's funny that it's Airbnb, air, bed, and breakfast, and yet who gives you breakfast with those? I've never had that. Go to Desayunazo, which is more or less downtown. Very good breakfast place. Pani Pa's pretty popular, but it's not going to be like Nicaraguan. It's like a Nicaraguan take on French bakery and stuff, coffee. Leon isn't really restaurant central, so and places change and close all the time. But those are good ones. Those are kind of a good start. Barbaro, right downtown, pretty nice venue. And El Vivero, on the northwest of the main city zone, is a pretty gorgeous place to go. If you're going to be here on a Friday night or any night, take a look for live music pretty much anywhere. So, for example, if you're going to be here this Friday night, tomorrow, Cadejo is performing and Milvio is fronting, which he never does. With them, he is the ex-lead singer of Revolver. He's fronting for Cadejo tomorrow night at Via Via. That's a good option. A lot of people go somewhere else. Oh, Bodegon, got to go to Bodegon. They are ranked number 2 by, I don't know, the newspaper or somebody. Obviously, it's not official. Somebody ranks them the number 2 restaurant in the country. Definitely stop by there. However, you should also complain that they don't offer their Bodegon ensalada because it is my favorite and I can't order it, and that makes me sad. It was my favorite salad in town. If I think of more, I'll let you know, but those are the ones I am thinking of at this time. Janet is here now for classes. Then Janet says that they rented with Ovidio, the first place that she had. Tim says, I found a new beer at Pali today. Sesca Hecho en España. I've seen that. I was going to say at Maxi Pali. Yeah, at Pali. For some reason, Walmart carries a Spanish, an odd. Sesca is a weird name for a Spanish beer. I have no idea what Sesca means in Spanish. John says La Union has a promo on Modelo. Buy one packet of second case free, winning. John, even better, if you go to Super Express, you get 2 6-packs of Tonya and they give you a hot dog. I'm like, I mentioned it on one of the things yesterday. I'm like, this is Nicaragua. 12 beers and 1 hot dog. That is the combo. Okay. Patricia says, I would like to stay at El Convento. It looks beautiful. It is, Patricia. I've never stayed there because why would I? Like, I can walk there. But it is fantastic. It is a great location, right in the heart of everything. It itself is a destination. Its restaurant is great. The grounds, just hanging out there is really cool. The owner is nice. The manager is great, although the manager's leaving, moving somewhere. I can't remember where he's moving. Canada, maybe? I don't really know the manager, but his wife is a friend of ours. We know her really well. So they're super cool. Nice place. Like just a nice ecosystem of people with them. They own La Relocation, which includes the restaurant La Esquina. That is so my veterinarian recommends La Esquina as a restaurant, and Jimmy stayed at Relocation when he was here last time and was very happy with it. There's also La Perla, which I've never been in, but Josh recommends it, who's on sometimes, and says it's really, really nice. They've got to be the most expensive in the city, followed by El Convento. So definitely check those out. Luke says, by the way, kudos to LM Productions for the Platypus Pirates in the intro. Thank you. I will pass that on. She will be very glad. She's always sad that people don't mention the artwork because she puts in a lot of work on that every week with something original. And I'm sending her a congratulations right now. Platypuses. I know how to English. There we go. Platypus Pirates. Absolutely. Don't forget, we got Halloween coming up here, so I hope everyone has their disfraces, their costumes ready. You've only got about a week to... Is it? Yeah, a week from tonight. Oh, gosh, are we doing a Halloween episode? Is that happening? You all have to be in costume to watch if we're doing a Halloween night. Is my math's right? That's going to be a week from tonight is Halloween? I'm double checking using a calendar because I don't trust my math. You know, you're getting old when you're like, what's today plus 7? I don't know if I can figure that out. It is indeed. Halloween will be next live stream, and Halloween is my grandmother's birthday. She's not been with us for decades, but it would have been her birthday, and she would have been something like 110. So it's reasonable that she's not with us. But I do miss her. We were very close. Dale says, hi, Scott. Hey, everybody. That was from Dale. I'm waving hi, all from him. John says, Hugo from La Relocation, El Convento, moved to Brandon, Manitoba. Oh, the manager? Yeah, I thought it was Canada. It's too bad. I mean, it's good. They needed to go up for whatever it was they were going for, but they were nice people. It was nice having them there, and they helped us out with a lot of stuff. So I don't know who's managing it now. I'm out of touch, although I got to hang out with the Sundance guys today. Oh my gosh, drama on the beach today. My gosh, just stupid drama. People so first of all, I don't run anything, right? I do a lot, like, I don't know if you guys know this, I'm kind of busy. Oh, Patricia failed her Duolingo so bad today, had to cash in gems for more stars twice. Ooh. I've not done my Duolingo yet. Thank you for reminding me. That's how busy of a day it has been. But I already have my monthly goal hit, but I try to get my 3 quests per day because I'm trying to get my final quest badge, and those things are hard. Yeah, drama on the beach. we have this big party coming up, and someone wrote to us and was like, oh, I hope this isn't going to be a loud party. I thought we were promised we would never have loud music on the beach. And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, this is Nicaragua. People have parties. This is how it works. You probably shouldn't have bought here if you don't like Nicaragua, right? Like, come on. And he gets all pissed off at me. He's like, I don't need this BS. I don't want to discuss this with you. I'm like, why did you reach out then? Like, you reached out to me for no good reason. You know I'm not the person to talk to. You might claim you're trying to ask a question, but you weren't because you have those people. I found out from later that he and his management team had reached out to the people who sold us the property more than a year ago and asked them about stuff. And like, why are you reaching out to old owners of the property? Like, you've known us for a long time. We may not get along so well, but you know who we are. He's from the channel, by the way. Like, really, just consistently awful attitudes out there. Like, and he's all like, "Oh, I've really lost respect for you today." I'm like, the way you've treated us for the last year is what you call respect? Dear Lord. Just clueless, disrespectful, not paying his taxes. Pretty sure he's got illegal immigrants. Like, he smuggled in illegal immigrants. Like, dude, everyone knows you have illegal immigrants and are not paying your taxes. I can't prove that, but everybody knows, right? Like, clearly you have people who are not from Nicaragua who've been working there for much longer than someone could reasonably stay on any kind of simple visa, and you're calling them your manager, and you hired them from somewhere, and they're eating and stuff. They're spending money. Clearly they're getting paid. This is not a volunteer, and it is not a Nicaraguan, and they don't even have a Nicaraguan phone number to use because you haven't even provided them a phone, and you're complaining because we're going to have a fully licensed and approved party? What? Stones and glass houses. My goodness. Lost respect for me. Jeez. Hey, Kevin, we'll be there on next Friday. I seem to always be in Latin America around the Day of the Dead. Managua, Tipitapa, and then off to the north. Kevin, are you making it? No. Nowhere in that list is the Saturday party in Leon at the beach. I'm so disappointed. Kevin, you're going to be here in the country for the giant party at my place, and you're not coming. Luke says, so jaded, you don't trust the calendar. No, Luke. The calendar's so jaded, it doesn't trust me. Patricia says, that was the Nicaraguan version of me who wrote that letter. James says, what's a male Karen called? I'm not going to say his name, but we all know. Patricia says, okay, maybe that's not the Nicaraguan version of me. I just like peace and quiet. Oh, yeah, I mean, we all like peace and quiet. Like, we're peace and quiet 364 days of the year. One time in a year, we're going to have a party, and they reached out and they're like, how late is this party going to go? How's this going to affect our people? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, did you read the banner on the street? Like, there's a giant banner in front of all of our places that says when it is. And your place shares a wall with ours. Just walk around. Shout if you want and ask, because there's staff there, including the managers. And he's all like, I don't want to talk about this. You should be talking to my manager about this. I'm like, right? That was my point. I have a manager who knows when this is, who's right next to you. And instead, you had your manager, who's an illegal immigrant, who shouldn't really be here. Neither should you if you're hiring illegal immigrants. And they are asking me, instead of the manager that they're standing right next to, when the party is. When you've known for a year about this process. Because they did this a year ago, and we said, I don't manage. I have nothing to do with the places at the beach. I just invest. That's all I do. I don't manage them. I don't have any say. And I generally don't keep up. Like, I can't have my head filled with details of things that I'm not managing. I just can't. And yet, people are like, we're going to call Scott and bully Scott. Not you guys, obviously. People on the beach will be like, we're just going to bully Scott and see if we can get what we want or complain and whatever. And I'm like, okay, but this is like an escalation. Like, if you're coming to me, that's a kind of a big deal because you went over not just the managers, but the management structure and the owners who are involved on the beach and are there every day. One of them was there while this was happening. Right? And I'm like, and then you come to me because you're trying to work around everybody. Well, I'm pretty pissed off about it. Ironically, I wasn't going to say it. So Kevin, that was not the thing I was alluding to, but it did occur to me that is the new thing. If it makes you feel better, Kevin, my mother was Karen. Gotta catch up. Paul says, where can we take the bus if we are planning to go to the beach party on November 2nd? That is a... Dale. I'm not answering, Dale. Oh my gosh, why is my... Macs have such problems clicking on things. Kevin says I can reconsider. Actually, he says I can reconsider Scott. Kevin is now reconsidering me. He's not the only one today, but that's good. You should reconsider Scott every day. I'm like, as I say with relocation, wake up every morning and make sure that the place you're in is the place you want to be. Well, you should also reconsider Scott every day. Is Scott really who we want to be watching in the live stream and only watch if the answer is yes? But the answer should be yes. I mean, I'm not saying to make the answer no. No. Yes, Kevin, you should reconsider and come out to the beach. It's going to be really cool. Paul wants to know where we are planning to take the beach party, the bus from. I don't know, but I'm going to grab the bus reservation WhatsApp for you, and then they'll tell you. There it is. No, it's a WhatsApp number. I don't want to put the WhatsApp number into this because that'll just advertise his phone number. It's one of the things I don't like about everybody using WhatsApp is there's no way to not hand out a phone number. It's generally a good system, but it's got its gaps. Paul, if you want to email me privately or anyone wants to, Nika Abla or email me, I'll send you the WhatsApp of Alden, who's handling everything with the bus. I know where they're doing tickets, but I don't know where the pickup is, which I should have found out. But that's somewhere downtowny. I think it's going to be like between La Salle and El Convento, but I'm not sure. Patricia says, what type of soundproofing does a rad pad have? I mean, the rad pads are fantastic. Like if you have one of those, you wouldn't even know you're in Nicaragua. Like I've heard people getting confused and thinking they're in Canada, and then they step out and like into traffic and get run over because it was so quiet that they forgot that they're in the middle of, Leon. So you gotta be careful. That's one of the dangers of a rad pad. They're so well made. And of course they're everywhere, right? So this is a constant sense of accidents. They're all over the city. Like you can barely go, and like they've run out of room in the city for all the rad pads they've been selling. So they're actually putting them into the middle of the boulevards. So you're driving really close to the doors. So when they open, you can just get smacked by traffic. Hence the sound deadening being super dangerous because people here rely on beeping and self-preservation for a lot of stuff. Luke says, rad pad insulation is a layer of denial wrapped in confusion. Oh, that's awesome. Patricia's laughing at that one. Dale says, that Darren was an answer to the male version of Karen, not a guess on who the a-hole on the beach. Oh my gosh, Dale. That's freaking hilarious. I think it was meant to be both. I do. Oh my gosh, I'm dying. Dale, check your Nika Abla. Yeah. Anywho, that's some funny shish, Luke. Good. Wow, we have a good number of people on this week. This is excellent for a short week. For those who weren't here earlier, we're going to cut it early on the 10 o'clock side. So I know we got started late. I apologize. It's been a day, it's been a week. It's been epically bad in a lot of ways. I have to go to Managua at 4 a.m. and so I can't realistically stay up late. Like I just can't, because I'm not just going to Managua. I'm driving and have to navigate and deal with some stuff. So tomorrow morning is going to be a little bit much, but hopefully I'm online. Like I think I just have to drive and then I get to sit for a long time. So I don't think it's too bad with everything. But I am appreciating this wine tonight. And now you guys got quiet. We had so much going on. We were having a good discussion going there. But yeah. So the party's going to be great. We'll get the information. I'll do my best to post what I know. But definitely reach out to Alden, who's going to handle all the reservations for the buses. The buses are a great way to go because you can get wasted on the beach and bring it back there. The party is many, many times the capacity of all the housing on the beach. Every house, every hotel, every hostel combined will not be able to handle just the one party, let alone all the others. The party, now I know, is only going to midnight. But when the party at Desperados is done, we are breaking and sending everyone to Pelican Surf. We do not want to impact the business of Pelican Surf. They operate one night a week. They are a dance club on the beach. The owner is a fantastic guy, and we do not want to negatively impact his business by staying open into his window of operations. I mean, technically, he's starting to get busy at 11. We'll go up until then, but we're going to try to send a record number of people down to Pelican Surf. He cannot handle as many people as we have, but a lot of people are going to head back. But really great guy. Definitely watch your wallets and phones. It is a kind of rough, really serious beach experience. This is hardcore surfer beach party place. If you're up for something a little bit more rough around the edges, you will appreciate how wild the party is over there. So bring some cash, buy a bunch of beer and rum, dance, listen to the music, have a good time. They do a little bonfire. There's an upstairs. It gets hot. Just expect to get sweaty. Wear comfortable clothes. Super, 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 super casual, but a great place. So it's a really far walk. We're going to lead like huge groups of people down the road to that. So that is the plan, right? Go to lots of places on the beach in the afternoon if you can. Head to Desperados at opening time, whatever it is. I think it's 7 o'clock that the party starts. Oh my gosh, I don't actually have it in front of me. I tell you, it has been that kind of day. I'm going to look for that thing so I can tell you the exact, absolute accurate time. If I can find it. I have so many WhatsApp groups that it's like I cannot possibly remember which one has the things that I need. That's one of the challenges. There, it's coming up. There it is. It is. Oh, and if anybody's wondering about the cost, it is 100 Cordoba, so a little bit under $3 to get in, and 200 Cordobas if you're coming on the bus. And of course, the time is not on the thing. I believe it's 7, but and then at midnight heading to Pelican Surf. James says 21st century schizoid man. That's got a Z, I'm pretty sure. Schizoid, not schistoid. Man by King Crimson, extremely loud. First thing in the morning, ask that neighbor, how do you like me now? They will never complain again. You might put song on again. You know what's funny, James, is I actually know Greg Lake. Luke King Crimson at Volume 11. For a number of years in the late 1990s, I was Greg Lake's manager. Dale says, good song. Kevin says, not as good as What's New Pussycat on repeat until your neighbor surrenders. The problem is my neighbor doesn't live next door. I haven't seen him in a year. So it's not very effective. Hey, there's Larry. Saw Larry this morning. First off, I couldn't be prouder to be a member. I see you've used some of my members' fees to produce a cinematic gem at Jimmy Shops at Paseo Real today. Oh, yes. We did hit Paseo Real. How'd you guys like that one? I'm glad we finally snuck some shopping footage in over there. I think that worked out pretty well. Is Leon a good city? This is Don. Wait, Don's color changed. Because he went from Donald Johnson to Don Johnson. We lost the camera. What just happened? Why did we lose the camera? Oh my gosh, it's been that kind of day. You can still hear me, right? All right, hold on. Oh my gosh. Here, we're going to go to There we go. How did this happen? I'll admit this may have been a dead battery that I didn't check. I'm not saying it's likely that the fault is mine. I'm just saying that it's within the realm of possibility. This is definitely the night of technical difficulties, but we are back. How's that? Just need a new battery. I don't think it's overheating or anything. Can't say for sure that I can hear the fan, though. Larry says, "Can we?" Yes. The Paseo Real. Don says, "Is Leon a good city for dating?" I would think so. I was living in the Dominican Republic and broke up with my girlfriend, and I'm going to be dating. Any ideas, anybody? I'm not sure what ideas would go into that, but yes, Leon is just, so the thing you're going to find about Leon is, and this, for some people this is positive, and some people this is negative. Leon is a big city, so there's a number of people to find for sure. It is a very young city, so the demographic median age in Leon is dramatically lower than nearly anywhere else in the country. Because we're a university town, the youth of the whole country come to Leon, other places too, but we get the most, and ours don't leave very much. So other places end up with a higher median age because their youth leave, and our median age goes way down because we get them all. So if you are going out and looking to hang out with the 20-something crowd, Leon is going to be probably the best place in the country for a large-scale 20-something audience. If you're looking for an older audience, of course they didn't leave the city, they're still there, but it's going to be background noise in a city that really has a large 20-something dating culture or going out culture. You can go out to tons of places, you'll be like, wow, there's a lot of people under 30 out here. That said, there's a lot of places that are not going to be like that, right? Or not dramatically. Gecko's is a great example. It tends to be the place where adults go out to party, but you will definitely see younger people there too and be like, oh, this doesn't seem like where I was expecting to see you. Love the shrimp at Gecko's, by the way. They are surprisingly good food. Late at night, if you're looking for decent food at low price at midnight, you can get a great meal at Gecko's for like under $10 at midnight at a wall-to-wall standing room only restaurant. Like, that's not bad, right? With air conditioning available. Like, seriously. Add Gecko's to the restaurant list. Duh. That's going to be a lot more classic Nicaraguan food, but high quality and an interesting venue. And there's starting to be these air-conditioned places. Barbaro has an air-conditioned room that's not always open. Twins has air conditioning always, like that's their main thing. Gecko's has it as a secondary space. They're still few and far between, but they are happening. But outside of Leon, I think really you're going to find Nicaragua is a good country for dating, right? It's a going out kind of place. It's a social kind of place. I think at this point, if you go around a lot of the world, especially North America and Europe, what you're going to find is that dating has taken a backseat to other things in life in a lot of cases. The idea that everyone is going to be either out with a partner or out looking for a partner is often not true. Obviously, sometimes it is true, but I'm just looking to hopefully meet someone is a little bit difficult in a lot of places. Nicaragua in no way is like that. The culture is everyone is always looking for someone, or people are always looking to not be alone, not to be single, and it is absolutely normal and expected that if you go out that you will be either with someone or open to meeting someone or willing to talk to people. People will just talk. People will just come up and introduce themselves. It's so social. I find the idea of choosing how good a city is for dating hard. I have no idea how to define that, but I think Nicaragua it's so extroverted as a culture, so just open to conversation, that if you're looking to meet someone, just go places that interest you and strike up conversations. And just some examples, like every single restaurant that I mentioned would be fine. You just go there and you see someone you want to meet, just go talk to them. And that they won't be offended. I mean, maybe 1 in 100, but the idea that they're going to be like upset or not want to talk to you, they might be like, I'm busy, I'm with people, or I'm not looking to meet someone. Like, okay, but it's going to be lots and lots of people who are just like, ooh, someone to talk to? Excellent. Right? No problem at all. So it's going to be I think a pretty easy experience compared to anywhere else you've likely been. Buy someone a drink. just to have a conversation. Go dancing, right? You'll meet people real fast because people just dance, right? It's really easy to meet people in those kinds of clubs like 23 Bar. Now, that's a young one, but places like that. Is Jimmy actually started looking for a place somewhere seriously yet, or still in kind of vacation mode? No, he's not doing the vacation mode thing, really. He's doing a little bit, but you can't really look at houses, say, like at night. So he went out and looked at a house this morning, and he's going to look at another house tomorrow morning. But the one tomorrow morning, he's almost committed to. So I think chances are he's going to have the decision made by tomorrow as to where he's going to go, and pretty likely taking the one he's looking at in the morning. So decently serious for sure. Dale says, love the shots of Paseo Real. Shame it's so empty. I know. 3 more shops would make a huge difference, but I don't know what should go in there. I have no idea what would make a difference. A travel agency would look cool there, but who needs a travel agency? They exist in Leon, but I don't know why. It'd be neat to see like an electronics shop in there. That would be cool. We don't have that in the malls very much, so I'd like to see that. Another clothing store, like a nice boutique in there, would be pretty fantastic. I don't know what would do well. The places that are in there are quirky. So I'm always like, how are these places making it? I have no idea. So that's, it would be cool. Since we're all, Kevin says, high tech now on the channel, can we get a video with drone footage at Paseo Real? Yeah. James says, what was song they used in Panama on repeat around hotel to get someone to surrender? Paul Anka, Neil Sedaka, Coba. At the Copacabana. Oh, you misspelled it. That's why I'm like confused. I'm like, no, that's not right. Copacabana. Don says, I like women in their 30s and 40s. Yep. And the nice thing here is if you're in the States, 30s and 40s often, I mean, obviously in their 30s, but 30s and 40s, you start to get a lot less of people going out. Like, I'm not going to go out to a dance club. I'm in my 40s, right? Like, I'm in my late 40s, like, barely in my 40s. Like, barely still in my 40s. And none of my friends, no one my age has been to a dance club in, I don't know, 15 years. And here, I was at one 2 nights ago, and I'll be at one tomorrow. Like, so normal. Like, you would not think about it twice. It's just how it is. So Luke says that Scott needs more wine. Luke says, I looked at the Google shots of Woods Bar at Matagalpa. Definitely an under 30 nightclub scene. Honestly, Luke, I don't think that's true. I was at Woods Bar 2 years ago, so it could have changed. But I was there with my wife. We're definitely not under 30s. And we did not feel old there. I felt we fit in really well. Now, obviously, we have a youthful energy, and you could mistake us for like late 20-somethings. I get it, but I felt very... I mean, I would say it's not an older scene. It's not like Gecko's where you're like, yeah, I would say that the median age is closer to 45, 50. I would say Woods is more like 30, 35. But I didn't feel like... I mean, there were certainly 20-somethings there. But I didn't feel like it was like an under 30s vibe. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was. But it definitely wasn't youthful like 23 Bar in Leon. That's like a under 22. It's probably called 23 because that's the oldest normal people are there. TJ says, Scott, I need a good chair for my computer setup. TJ, I really like this one I have. And it is, hold on. It's one of these full mesh deals. Even the bottom is mesh. Which is nice in Nicaragua because everything is warm, so you kind of want it to breathe, and it's really heavy duty. I found this at PriceSmart. It took me a while. I've been looking for this one, and I am so happy with it. It's perfect. It's like much more industrial than others I've found here. It's good. Red Dog, Tinder is loaded. Yeah, I believe that actually works here as opposed to a lot of places where it's just fake-ish. I think you'll find, I know talking to people, I've heard in the past, I don't know if this is current, but I've heard in the past that people used it a lot with like success. I know guys and girls who used it a lot, and they're like, yeah, of course you meet people. And I'm like, wow, when I lived in the US, people were like, that doesn't do anything. I remember being in 2014 at an office party, and some guy was like, oh yeah, look, I'm getting all these hits on Tinder. And we're like, dude, those are very obviously well-known models that are just there's someone's using their pictures. And he's like, what? And we're like pulling up these pictures. We're like, here's this person, here's this person. It was every single hit that he had was fake people. And that was 10 years ago. Hate to break it to you, it's not working like you'd hope. TJ says, I got one from Radio Shack and it's horrible. Yeah, TJ, my old one was from Radio Shack. I wouldn't call it horrible, but it wasn't anything special. It was just functional. And now we use it in the game room, but I only use that a little bit at night. Dale says, I had a compilation album of noise bands that I put on when I was ready for the party to be over, or Diamonda Gallus. Larry says, I jumped on late. What are the times at Desperados for November 2nd? Larry, I'm not actually sure. I think it's 7 to midnight. At midnight, everyone's going to Pelican Surf because we don't want to cut into their business. So we're going to send everyone there at midnight, and we don't want to go past midnight. Because even though they're jerks, we don't want to be bad neighbors to the people next to us. Like, they're an actual hotel. And at some point, you have to put up with parties till midnight because that's how the beach works, especially on holidays. But it is a hotel. We don't want to keep those people up all night. But far more importantly, we want to send everyone to Pelican Surf. We do want to be good to them. I love that we're actually ending early, did everything we're supposed to do, sending people to help out local businesses, making sure we shut down early, and still they were complete and utter jerks to us. Come on. There's no winning. I'm just so over the drama. China Mall. Wait, what are we doing at China Mall? John, you mentioned China Mall, but in reference to what? Patricia says, has Jimmy Dog met my dogs yet? Don't let Betty hurt him. He has met my dogs. We try to keep the dogs apart. He is old, and my dog, while she is the sweetest thing ever and sleeping right here, and my baby does have the potential to get aggressive with other dogs, only out of jealousy, or if they were somewhere else, she wouldn't care. But here in her house, it could happen. They've been, nose to nose, sniffed each other, hung out, zero problems, not a growl, not a grimace, not a sideward glance, nothing like that. We just don't want to take the chance. He's an old dog, and they would hurt each other, and there's no reason. My little dog, who's just the lovingest thing and would never get angry at any dog until they attacked his other dog or his kids, he just jumps up in Jimmy's dog's face and Poe's face and just "Rah!" But that dog is like, yep, you're a wild little dog. But Poe knows that my dog is not being aggressive. He's being an aggressive player. Totally different thing. So he shows zero signs of he's not like, oh, you're in my face. He's just like, oh, little dogs get yappy and they want to play. That's how they are. So he's totally chill with it. And my dog is just like, you're the coolest big thing. I love big dogs. I love big dogs. Ah! So they just love each other. Now, Betty gets along with everyone mostly, at least small dogs. Okay, she gets along with everybody but Mia. Mia, the one who's so sweet, right here sleeping, she and Betty do not get along, and they have gotten into fights, so we can't let them near each other. But Betty has been staying with Poe most of the week, and they are fine. So, and I mean, we almost talked Jimmy into keeping Betty, actually. Port City Investments. Hey, I'm planning on 3 months in Nicaragua. Where's a good place to go for young professionals? So, there's no place that's going to be super awesome for young professionals compared to others. As long as you are, have an income coming in and you don't mind spending a little bit of money, one, it's going to be just whatever place you like is going to be the biggest thing. Whatever vibe is your vibe is going to be best. All right. San Juan del Sur could be good. Some people really like the vibe. The enclaves are an option. Some people like the vibe. Watch out for some of the enclaves like Grand Pacifica where they don't have good internet. They have it right up to the gate, but then the HOA doesn't let it in. Real thing. So watch out for any of those private enclaves. You just make sure that you can get the services. When you're like, oh, is healthy food and cheap gas, and there's not really cheap gas, but good internet and all these things available in Nicaragua? Yeah, everywhere. We don't mean in private facilities where they forbid it. Right, but the really poor Nicaraguan village where the workers work in Grand Pacifica, right in front of the gates, has super fast fiber at super low cost. But as soon as you go inside the enclave, the speeds drop and the price goes way up. So watch out for things like that. Honestly, Managua is easily your best. They're going to have, you're a working professional, you want to have the best internet, that's going to be them. You want the most options in housing, certainly going to be them. You can get modern houses, modern apartments, classic houses, classic apartments, expensive as much as you want to spend to as cheap, like practically free, lots of restaurants and things to do, and easy transportation around the country. Honestly, I like Managua a lot. It's not a bad place. If your goal is to spend 3 months and really be able to do things, but you want to be able to work during the day and you quickly want to go out to eat and stuff, Managua's really got a lot going for it. I also like Matagalpa and Leon a lot. I think they're really good choices because they're good-sized cities. They're obviously the next 2 largest metro areas, or it's obvious that being the next 2 largest metro areas, they're going to have a lot going on. Both of them have restaurants and activities and things in their area. They're very different feeling places. Leon is hot and flat, but near a beach, and you've got universities. So it's got one kind of vibe. Matagalpa's in the mountains, and it's more industrial and agricultural, and it's a different vibe. Both are fantastic in very different ways, different weather. Both are going to have good internet, cheap housing, lots of options. You really can't go wrong anywhere. Some places are going to be a lot more boring. If you're just going to be working during the day and you're relying on not going very far, like you'll do fine, whether it's Huigalpa, Boaco, Esteli, Jinotega, Chinandega, they're all functional. Some, you may just fall in love with the vibe. You may just fall in love with your neighbors. But on a law of averages kind of thing, I think most of those, the big challenges are going to be that the number of restaurants for you to explore is going to be very low. You're probably going to get food bored really quickly. Your grocery store selection will be lighter. And if you were going to be making a long-term stay, 3 years, 10 years, those things may not matter so much because you'll learn how to hire people to cook for you at home or where you want to visit. But over 3 months, you're going to be generally spending a lot of your effort focused on very tight area where you are generally. And so you want a place that has enough resources on its own that you're not trying to solve a problem. So like here in Leon, I think you'll find that easily long before the end of 3 months, you'll be like, okay, I wish there were more restaurants than this. But you won't be at a point where you're burned out on them. You'll be like, you know what, I haven't eaten at that place enough. I could do that again. And I haven't tried this yet. I could do that again. No problem. Whereas in 3 years, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't do this meal again. You won't have to. You'll have figured out how you're going to get alternative meals, whether you're cooking for yourself or whatever. So you get different vibes at different lengths of time, typically. It's really kind of open to you. Do you have places that are interesting you? I think it's a good discussion. Like it's an interesting one. Port City, I'm going to call you PCI. Hopefully you're PCI compliant given your name. Give me some more background on what it is you're looking for in a place, and I might be able to narrow it down a little bit. Don says, I'll be looking for a good Airbnb. Stay for a few days until I find something permanent. I can probably hook you up with that. That's probably pretty easy. Larry says, anyone on the channel making a PriceSmart run for turkeys mid-November? Colonia has them. However, the largest are 14 pounds. I needed 20 to 24. Mid-November, since about 3 weeks. Chances are, Larry, I will be. Hit me up. Almost certainly, in the next 3 weeks. It may be that we end up going too early. We're not going for turkey, I don't think. It's not necessarily true. We might actually be going for turkey. I don't eat turkey, but we might go for that. Speaking of PriceSmart, this is Dale. What's the cost of membership per year? Oh, I want to say $80, but that might be the upper membership. It might be less. Maybe it's $45. It's a noticeable amount of money, but well worth it. That's the only thing that sticks in my brain. We have the cheaper membership, but I can't remember if that's the $80 or not. Because I've only ever re-upped it once. For the first year or two, I never went. Someone else always did the shopping. Now I'm the card carrier, so I go all the time. I will do my best to look it up on my app, but I don't think that they actually put the price on the app. But I will check and see if they do. It barely lets me log in on the app, so don't get your hopes up. James says, Scott, you still get asked for IDs at bars? I do not. I do not get asked for IDs at bars. Been a long time since I did that, since I had to show an ID. And even, honestly, I've barely ever been ID'd my entire life. Like, that is so not something that happens to me. And I was just telling this story the other day that I once bought, or once bought, I once, oh, here we go. Membership is Diamond, 1,684 cord. Platinum, 3,369 cord. And then there's Business that has a specialty thing. Now, I have to do that math, but that looks suspiciously lower than what I was thinking. It must be like $40. Is that right? Hold on. I can math. 1, 6, 8, 4. 45. Oh, I was spot on. $45. But no. So I was telling the story. I was 18 years old, living in Michigan. And when I was 18, the age was 21 in Michigan. And I wasn't in a frat. I had a Gamma Delta Iota house, and we were throwing a huge anti-frat party. Like, we threw a party when the frats weren't allowed to throw parties. So, like, the sororities would ask us, they're like, you're not Greek. Can you throw a party? Because we're not allowed to. We'd be like, okay, cool. And so I needed alcohol. So I went to the big grocery store in town and filled a grocery cart with liquor. Filled it. Filled it. I'm 18. I have lived away from high school for 5-6 weeks. I go through the line, and the guy just looks at me and goes, "You look 21. And if you're not, you got fake ID. I don't care." And I'm just like, heck yeah, I'm 18 and I don't have a fake ID. But yes, good to go. And I'm like, confidence is everything. Just walked right through. Never a problem. Port City. I'm looking for a type of place that is in a neighborhood popular with young professionals with amenities like gyms, cafes, social spaces to help me meet people, good local food, and also a local gym. That's a tough thing. I'm going to ask the Managua people. I think the only thing that's going to meet that requirement is going to be Managua. All of those things are fine, right? If you're in Leon, you can find nice neighborhoods. You can find young professionals. You can find a nice gym or two, a couple cafes. Social spaces to meet people, a little bit harder, but like geckos during the day, like they exist. Good local food, limited. Did you mention gym twice? You mentioned gym twice, okay. Like all those things you could pull off in Leon, but definitely what you're not going to find is a community of of young professionals. That's going to be most young professionals. Some exist, right? But they're going to be like doctors. So I have friends who are young doctors. I have a friend she's a doctor. She's 21, right? She lives with her parents or with her boyfriend or near the office. Like everything's individual. There's no community. It's not like she would ever live in an area with other young professionals. Just wouldn't really happen. I do have friends who are relatively young professionals, like in their 30s, and they live, I guess they're like really high 20s and then lowish 30s, right? And they live in Castelleon, which I was showing there on the map here in Leon, right? But most of the people in their community are not. That's the southeast of Leon. In case it's not clear, I'll move it again for everybody so you can see where it was in the city of Leon. And so most of their neighbors are going to be a little bit older. A lot of, it's just all over the place. I really know very few places that you're going to get a focused, younger professional neighborhood. I think your best bets are going to be on the more outskirty areas around the Carretera Messiah. So I'm thinking that I'm thinking like Ticuan Tepe or something like that, where you might be able to find some lower end gated communities where they're not like super fancy, because you're gonna, as soon as you get super fancy, you're gonna get away from the young professionals. You're gonna get old professionals and investors, that kind of stuff. So if you want local malls, or the malls are not that far, local gyms, all that stuff, like Ticuan Tepe and relatively nearby are going to be I think good options. And everybody loves Ticuan Tepe, and that whole region is just fantastic. And you've got easy access into Managua, so when you're like, hey, I want to go Do like, I want to go to some cool bar. We did this last week showing some of this. We're going to jump onto the maps up. All right. So this is Managua here, this whole big metro area. So we're going to move in a little bit. And then this big region right here is going to be pretty good. This is Tepe over here, I think. Maybe like here. So this is a pretty big area, right? There's actually a lot going on there. It's a not super dense area, but it is reasonably packed with people. Loads of restaurants. Luke, have a good night. Sorry that you gotta go early, but I'm taking off in 2 hours from now anyway, so good night to duck out early, I guess. Good seeing you. But that whole stretch down there is going to be that whole stretch, that whole area around Carretera Messiah is going to be a mix of like younger professionals and of course older, richer professionals. So not everything is going to be youthful in the area. Everything's going to be nice in the area. And you actually have quite a bit of different neighborhoods. Esquipulas, Veracruz, Valle Gotel, San Pedro, Santo Domingo, Los Altos de Santo Domingo, Tepe, probably about the farthest you want to go. Maybe Los Ranchitos, kind of that area. Like, all of it's nice, but you start getting farther out and like thinner activities. But I think you'll find that, I know for me, spending time in that area is like a constant discovery of, ooh, I like this, ooh, I like that, ooh, I like this, right? You're just constantly like, what a cute little restaurant, what a neat little shop, oh, this is nice, I like this, oh, it's kind of expensive, okay, right? I mean, obviously if you're working, it's not bad, but it's still Nicaragua, but it's way more than other areas. Price per run, looking for a place. Dale says, I looked at the Managua price mark, couldn't find the price. Yep, 42 to 45. John says 42 annually. More expensive with cash back option. Yeah. Just a reminder, PriceSmart is like Costco, so either cash, there are ATMs in the store, or an American Express. They will tell you that only their American Express works, but that's not how it is. All American Express works there. I use the Hilton American Express every time, never had them say a thing. Port City says, PCI says, is Managua the most receptible to foreigners? I don't think that that's true. It is receptible to foreigners, absolutely. Is it the most? I don't think so. I think Leon and Granada are probably the most receptible. I believe the word is receptive. The most receptive to foreigners, and Messiah is really good. Managua is good. They're going to be more receptive than Esteli, Jinotega, Chinandega for sure. None of them are going to be like, oh, you can't be there. There's no place in Nicaragua where I'd be like, I'd be uncomfortable being there. Not a thing. But there's going to be a lot of places where they're going to be like, what are you doing here? You're weird, and you're always going to be a novelty. Here in Leon, no problem. Granada, you'll be the norm. Managua, you'll be fine, no problem, but I wouldn't say it's the best. Is it walkable? No. It is the least walkable probably of any major city. It's probably the least walkable thing in the country. It's not that it's dangerous per se. It's not that you can't walk it. I do, but it is not by any definition a walkable city. That is kind of the antithesis of the Managua experience, and the thing that I like least about it. If you're in a Guatemala City and said the same thing, how walkable is Guatemala City? Well, other than the city being really big, it's super walkable. Comfy sidewalks, lots of guidance on things, easy navigation, lots of great stuff for like people with disabilities to be able to get around safely, lots of things for the blind and the deaf, it's good, really well done. Managua is like a bunch of haphazard villages that ran into each other. So even though the size isn't that big, it's sprawling and haphazard. Getting from one thing that you want to be at to another could be really hard. For example, if you want to go from our local cafe near the mall, and so you want to get coffee, and let's say you're coming from a nice apartment. So nearest apartment you'd want to be at to the cafe, figure 10 minutes in a car, probably 5 to 10 minutes in a car. And then you're going to be that's Limoncello that I'm taking you to. So you're on a beautiful rotunda at Central America. There's a few things to do there. You want to go shopping. Okay, well, how far to the shopping center? Oh, that's a 30-minute walk along a highway. Okay, and now you're done there. How are you going to get, like, everything is traffic and weird roads. There isn't any of that, like, city walkable kind of thing at all. Little tiny bits, and if you watch my shows where I'm walking Managua, I think you'll see that you're like, okay, he seems safe, but this doesn't seem like a place you would walk as a practical activity. If you're walking because you're stuck, your car broke down, no problem. If you're walking because you love to walk, no problem. You're walking because there's some really necessity that's making, it's going to be okay mostly. And can you get to things you need to get to? Yeah, you could eventually, but if you're in a Guatemala City, which is so many times larger than Managua, chances are you can walk to all normal daily activities within 10 minutes. Oh, your gym, your restaurant, your corner store, your supermarket, a number of restaurants that you'd actually want to eat at, friends' apartments, just the normal amenities of life. Everything's within 10 minutes, right? As it is with most modern cities. Same thing would be in Cochabamba, Bolivia, or Buenos Aires, Argentina, or Mexico City. You're just going to find that that's about how far you have to walk to get all the things you need day to day. Sure, you're going to be like, oh, I heard about this cool restaurant. Oh, that's not within 10 minutes walking. Given, that's always going to be the case. But in a place like Guatemala City, you're like, you're normal every day. You got this neighborhood thing going on. You can walk to everything. When you start talking about Managua, that stops being the case. Can you survive within 5 to 10 minutes walk of most places that you will be? Chances are, yes, that you could survive. But is it going to be that you have plenty of restaurants you want to go to, plenty of shopping you want to do, most things that no. It's going to be a real struggle to do that in most of Managua. You can get to, like, the barrio level things. The barrios will be self-contained. You want to go to Venezuela, like Barrio Venezuela, and be like, okay, everything I need is within Venezuela. There's no supermarket, but there's some open air markets. There's some rough that, like, they'll make it work, right? But if you're like an expat and you're like, okay, I want to do, like, cool things, nope, it's going to be tough. So just assume that walking Managua, even if it's plausible, once you get there, you'll be like, oh, I don't want to do this every day. You might want to do it for fun at some point, but not every day. Do they have a subway line? Nope, there is no current rail-based transportation in the country. They cannot have subways because of the earthquakes. Or is bus the most common form of transport? Absolutely. Bus in Managua is the main thing. Buses are not bad. They are confusing. Tate Erickson, can you recommend a transportation company to get from Managua Airport to Las Piñas? I do not know of any transportation companies. I can recommend a transport operator. Just going to take a car, or if you need a bus, he has one that he partially owns, and so he gets it. So if you send me a note on email, I can get you his contact information, Tate, and you can reach out to him, and he's great. We trust him. We've been using him for years, personal friend of the family, everything. Port City, Scott, I'm appointing you as my travel agent. I am from Canada. Awesome. I'm kind of everybody's travel agent. I am the travel agent of Nicaragua. That is my vibe. James says neighborhood 4, period. My brain thinks it's 24, and my body thinks my brain is an idiot. Yeah, James, I don't know what that was. He deleted it once I read it. He's like, that didn't make any sense. I'm with you. I don't know what that was. But well, I'm just finding out what people are doing right now in different places. I did find out that the person that I am taking, my head itches today. It's all the stress of dealing with the male version of the Karen on the beach. Dale. Killing me. The person I am taking to Managua first thing in the morning is staying here tonight, I just found out, so it's one fewer stops that I have to make in the morning. Dale says, do they have motorized tricycles in Managua? Oh, they have motorcycles and tricycles in Managua, don't they? Yes, they do. I don't like taking them. They do have them downtown. I don't know how easy they are to catch. I like the human-powered ones that we have here in Leon. Like, they feel safe. Those ones where it's a motorcycle with a bench on front are terrifying. But people do them. People do some wild stuff here that you don't want to do in a lot of cases, but they'll get you around. You don't normally want to take those very far. They're for like getting around the barrio, typically. James says, nice neighborhood for over 60 where brain thinks 24 and body thinks brain is an idiot. Nice neighborhood. Are you asking where is a nice neighborhood? Gosh. I don't know where would be a great neighborhood with only that information. Obviously, all the same areas that I just said are nice, right? And Larry, who's on, I think he's still watching, he's lived in Esquipulas. He lives out here now, but he's lived kind of in the north of this zone that I'm talking about. And he's talked about this before, that there's just loads and loads and loads of wonderful stuff in that area. Some of it's up on the hill, some of it's down in the valley, some of it's along the road. There really is a lot of nice variety in a relatively small area. I really like it. If I was going to live in Managua, along there, or technically in Masaya, the border cuts through there. That area where Managua and Masaya are starting to, the two cities are actually starting to merge. That zone is going to be just continuously fantastic for at least the next, I'm going to think, 20 years. It's got so much going for it. There's so much good stuff if you're willing to spend a little bit more and you're willing to be outside the city centers. Like you're willing to give up some of the classic Nicaraguan like hardcore neighborhood stuff. But that said, right, we're not talking about an enclave here. So there's what I really love, the barrio life. Even when we're in like Ciudad Sandino, we're sitting out on the street and we're putting chairs out and we're, having a beer and the neighbors stop by and you're just like all like in the street with each other. That vibe I love in Nicaragua. And that is so old school, classic barrio. But like this area that we're talking about there is this newer, more modern Nicaragua, but it's still quite Nicaragua. But it's the Nicaragua where they want to be a little bit more private. They want to be fancier, elegante, for sure. And it's a different take on Nicaraguan life that is evolving. Some of it has always existed, but some of it is new. Some of it is discovering the upper middle class in a new way with like larger scale upper middle class, where you have community pools or private pools and larger houses and more modern, like painted white instead of the colors of the barrio, and everyone's uniform instead of wacky different every street, and it's gated, and that stuff's starting to happen. And they're getting more European influence and more like big city Bogota, Lima, Buenos Aires. Like those places are starting to, creep in as Nicaragua becomes more international. But that still represents an important part of Nicaraguan life and culture. This isn't like an aside, it's just a new evolution of it. So I think it still represents a cool opportunity to get into a lifestyle here. Port City says, do they use Uber there? No, we have InDrive, singular, not InDriver. I often say that by accident. It's InDrive. It's kind of like an Uber app, but it works a little bit differently, but it does give you a lot of safety, and if you're in Managua, definitely use it. Here in Leon, no one really uses it. We have it, but I don't know anybody uses it. Managua, use it. Like, that is for real. Use it. What's the nature of antisocial travel? Can I just order a cab or bike without talking to someone? So, yes. I mean, this is, I guess, an extension of the Uber question. You can't use Uber, but InDrive will allow you to essentially do everything you need to do. You'll order a cab, tell them where you want to go, negotiate a price. So it's not a set price where you say, here's where I'm going, and it gives you a uniform price. You say, I'll pay you 120 cord. And they say, no. And you wait a minute, no one takes it. You say, all right, I'll give you 150 cord. And then someone's like, okay, maybe. And like, there's a little bit of like, I like Uber better. Like Uber fits an American sensibility, more straightforward. Whoever designed InDrive was definitely not a North American. it works great and it's good for Nicaraguan lifestyles. But as an American trying to use it, let me tell you, every time I have to use Uber, I just go, I don't like guessing how much something should be. I don't like having to think about it. I like being told, right? I know I'm probably paying more with Uber, but I like being told. But you do just use the app and essentially, but do be prepared to describe where you want to go. Nothing has addresses here, so there's always some amount of complication. But it pretty much satisfies the anti-social travel thing. Now, here's the big question, PCI says. Scott, if you had 20K US, could you buy a summer vacation spot in Nicaragua? Well, what do you mean by summer vacation spot? Can you buy a house in Nicaragua for $20,000? Yes, it can be done. Would I likely consider it a summer vacation spot? Probably not. So I'll give you an example. The house that we show in Ciudad Sandino quite often sold, which is fine, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, small, gated community, but it's in Ciudad Sandino. So first question, would you consider something like Ciudad Sandino or Casa Leon in Leon to be summer vacation viable spots? If yes, then we can talk. But if not, then it's going to be pretty rough. If those types of areas or some really rural thing are going to satisfy your desire of what you're looking for, then understand that the place we looked at that we show quite often was $23,000 7 years ago, and we're estimating it's worth at least $27,000 today. That is bigger than some people need for a summer vacation spot. It's a gated community. Maybe you don't need so. Can you get a house for $20,000? Yes, you still can. You can get houses, new construction, as low as $16,000 with the land. But you're talking about very small lots, very small houses, not air conditioned ready. And I don't mean with air conditioning, I mean not ready. Like they don't have the sealed walls that you need for air conditioning. They don't have the roof that you need for air conditioning. Those are a little bit of upgrades. The challenge, the reason that you're not going to find something easily at that price range, because it seems like you would, for logical reasons. Well, if a halfway decent house that's 2-bedroom, 1-bath in a gated community is under 30, why wouldn't a vacation condo that's very small and conservative be available around 20? And the reason is not because that's not a logical chain of thought and not because a condo of that nature wouldn't be around 30. It's that they don't build condos of that nature. And so it's not that the price doesn't make sense. It's that the object doesn't exist in the market at all, to the best of my knowledge, anywhere in the country. Now, that said, could you, not reliably, but could you, find a bit of land, not on a beach, but near a beach, small, conservative, buy it, hire a crew, and build a very small cottage, not multi-rooms or anything, just a very basic place, pretty small on that land, and do all that under $20,000. Yes, you can. I have a friend who did it a few years ago for between $11,000 and $13,000 on a highly desirable beach, but not on the sand, a couple streets off, but a really nice area, good neighbors. And he put in a wall, has a little bit bigger plot of land than you would ever actually need. I mean, it's not huge, but it's big enough to have like a garden, do some extra things. He has way more yard space. He doesn't have a dog, but he could have like a very happy dog. And he did it way under $20,000. Now his place is super conservative. It's more like a studio than a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. But you could have something like that and consider that a vacation spot. Nicaraguans often do these really, really rustic, like it's somewhere between a beach house and camping. And those types of houses are on the beach, definitely not going to be $20,000. At least not on the good beaches. On some beaches, you might be able to get into those for $20,000. Those are places where you really don't have beds. You sleep in hammocks, but they can be beautiful and comfy-ish. And Nicaraguans would use them often. So it falls within a realm of reason. So it really, I think more than anything, PCI comes down to what you would be looking for in a summer home. And you could take one of those designs that's maybe not going to quite make it at $20,000 on the beach and say, oh, I'm going to get a really tiny lot just outside of a town in a beautiful little spot, maybe in the mountains somewhere, and come in another 1 or 2 or even 3,000 lower because you're just in a cheaper area and materials are cheaper. So maybe, depending on what you're looking for, you might be able to pull it off, but you're going to have to be creative. I think that's for $20,000 to be possible. Creativity will be needed. But if you had to spend $20,000 in order to live, and it was, if the question was, I need to make sure I can put a roof over my head and not just sleep in the rain, would $20,000 allow me to find shelter? Yes, it would. And loads of Nicaraguans have places that are valued lower than $20,000, some much lower. But would you ever consider one of those as a fun spot to have as a summer vacation spot? That's where it's going to be. I don't think they're going to meet your expectations. James says, made gallo pinto was very good. One recipe called for green peppers. Yeah, chitoma, of course, it's not gallo pinto if it has no chitoma. Other called garlic, insane amount of garlic. Obviously, Nicaragua have issues with vampires? No, James, because we put garlic in everything. Duh. Okay, John says, Port City and A1, come visit Playa Tesoro while visiting Leon area. Cheers. Yep, Playa Tesoro is just from Las Pinitas, 2 beaches south. It's Salinas Grandes, then Tesoro, so not too far. Dale says, I saw a guy visiting that used InDrive, and it gave him a suggested price, and the guy came back with 20 to 30 cord higher, and he took it. I didn't know it gave a suggested price anymore. That's good. Yeah, it gives you something to work with. Port City says, do you pay property taxes in Nicaragua? I mean, I paid property taxes in Nicaragua. If that's the question, yes. They charge me property taxes. But I also own property in Nicaragua. It's incredibly low. You're talking like, I don't know, definitely sub $100 a year. It might be like $20 a year. Like, we're talking really small numbers here. Obviously, if you own 1,000 acres of prime real, it's going to be noticeable. But if you're on a normal size lot, it is pretty cheap in most places. All the places I know of. John probably has way better information about property taxes than me because I think he may deal with it directly. I deal with it like secondhand. So I've asked about this before, and the answer is always like, it's so low we don't pay attention. Like, that's like the answer. Because we pay it on a number of places, and they're like, oh, no, it doesn't even hit our radar as a discussable item. Luis says, Scott, thanks for the channel to give everyone a view in life of living in Leon, Nicaragua. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And welcome to the channel. Backyard Bandit. Ooh, he's stealing backyards. Everybody watch your patio. Hey, Scott, what are your thoughts about camping in Nicaragua? Do you know anywhere to camp in Nicaragua? My thoughts are people often don't because of things like scorpions. There's not actually a lot of nasty creatures in Nicaragua, but we are a tropical jungle country. And so, a lot of Nicaragua lives almost like they're camping because of, realistically, Nicaragua has some poverty. And one of the ways that we're able to deal with it as a tropical country, and this is a super practical thing, so like this is why the tropics are nice, is that even if you are approaching destitute, as long as you have a roof over your head and something you can attach a hammock to, we're generally able to come up with a shelter that's functional pretty easily. You could be on dirt, but that's a common thing. People actually burn off or hack away the grass because they want to keep bugs away, so they just have dirt underneath. Things that I don't really like, but I come from a grass country, right? So it's just how it is. Can you camp in Nicaragua? Yeah, of course you can. Like, I don't know anywhere you can't camp. I know of people, I've seen people camping on the beaches. Sometimes in hostels we'll have space for that. I can tell you in Las Pinitas, as an example, if I was going to camp in Las Pinitas, I'd camp on my own land because it'd be silly not to, but if I was someone else, I would camp at Caracolitos Hostel. A nice hostel, great owner, very nice people, and they have space specifically for that. And they have like grounds that are kind of not exactly wild, so you're not in too bad a shape there. I'm just reading ahead a little bit. But finding like a campground. While they could exist, I have yet to encounter or be told about a campground in Nicaragua. I know there are some people who do camping things. I've tried like RV camping and a few different things. They always find it challenging because there just aren't facilities for it. You may be able to find a person who's going to let you camp. They'll be confused. Why do you want to do that? I don't care. Sleep in my yard. Who cares? Give them $5. They'll be like, wow, cool. Stay as long as you want, right? Like, most people who want to go camping either want like KOA kind of stuff where it's like, oh, cool. There's like a little restaurant. There's some hookups. There's like a little shop. That you're really not going to find. And maybe this is a business idea. Patricia, maybe this is a thing that's missing. A really low-cost, simple camping area where people can do this. But I don't even know if they sell camping equipment in Nicaragua. Like, this is such not a Nicaraguan thing. But it would also not take very much to make the facilities to do it if you're willing to camp outside. And a lot of the country, though, is jungle. It's not like North American forest, so outdoor camping is... it's a different animal. I think there's a lot of public ground where it's okay to camp, and you can camp on the beaches in many cases, and some people do, especially in the southern beaches. But it'll be challenging, I think, for sure. If you ask more detail, like maybe I can answer something more specific about it. Louise says, I have tried to view your guide on expats, but I need to get some birth certificates from the U.S. certified translation. I registered in Managua. Do you have a suggestion on finding ones? That's a tough one. So if you're U.S. born, to the best of my knowledge, the only way to get, in most cases, is to contact your state. So for me to get my children, for me and my children who were born in New York, we had to go to New York and get them. For my daughter who's born in Texas, we had to go to Texas to get her birth certificate. We just had to get them there. Everything from the U.S., unless it's Puerto Rico, is going to be in English. So if you're doing a residency or citizenship paperwork in Nicaragua, they're going to require that to be in apostille, in Spanish. We did that in the U.S. It was not hard, but it was a little bit of a pain. But wasn't really a problem. But everything had to be done in the U.S. In most cases, there is a way to do it remotely. We found it easier to actually fly around to the different states and do it in person. That's the U.S. at the time that we did it, which is not that long ago, didn't make it super easy. However, that easily has changed. And your state may just be more advanced than mine. Byron Delgado. Hey Scott, Byron from the Bay Area, California. Hey, welcome to the channel. Do you have a video link to that 2-bed, 1-bath house estimated at $27K? I'd really like to see it. Do you mean the one in Ciudad Santino that I was just talking about just a little bit ago that I said the price probably went up in the last couple of years? That it was 23 when they bought it. We think it's 23. Yeah, I'll assuming that's what you mean. I'm going to look that up now. I definitely can track that down. That is a pretty easy one to find, I think. I don't know how much we really show the house. We showed like the outside of the house quite a bit. I will try to get the inside of the house. I don't know when I can. This is got to be showing. This is definitely the community that the house is in. It's one of the smallest in this community. But I like this community a lot, and I can get you direct information to the community. That's not a problem. It is across the street, or kind of diagonal, but in 5-minute walk tops from this cool new plaza with nice restaurants and stuff. This is a gentrifying area. I'm very sad. I actually wanted to buy a house in Ciudad Santino, and it was just not in the cards at this time, so did not get into that. I believe that this one also is going to show the same community. I've done a number of walks there. This shot of a seltzer from nearly 3 years ago was filmed in its front yard, but you won't see the actual house. Those are the best ones that I'm aware of to show the area. There's probably others where I've shown it. Those are the ones where I have mentioned it really specifically. I don't know if I'm going to point out which house it is. in there, but it's the one that I'm more or less clearly focused on. It's the one where I stay at when I'm there, or you're used to. Luis says translation and notary services. So yeah, Luis, as far as I know, all of that has to be done in the U.S., so it'll be based on the state that you're in and which office you have to go to. YouTube is complaining again. I don't think it's buffering though. I think it's just complaining. We're gonna hold on. I don't think I've skipped anyone's questions so far. I'm really interested to know more about Backyard Bandits camping ideas. Like what are you picturing? That's what I want to know. Kasa Small. Hey Scott, since you mentioned a friend who built that studio for $13K, how much would a rural manzana of farmland cost? Do you know? That's a tough one. So manzana, for those who don't know, that is the standard measurement of larger land here. Small things are generally done in square meters. Larger things are generally done in manzanas. A manzana in Nicaragua, manzanas are different in every country. It is a non-standard. Every country has a different legal definition of what a manzana is. The word manzana means an apple, but the reference is an apple orchard or a stand of apples, a stand of apple trees. And obviously the size of a stand of apple trees varies quite a bit by the country you're in as to what they consider to be the average size of a stand. And of course, the average size of a stand will vary by the climate of the individual country. And it really makes no sense when you're in a place like Nicaragua where apples don't grow. But in Nicaragua, a manzana is 1.7 acres. So the question here is, how much would a rural 1.7 acre farmish land cost, which is more of like garden land, but you could, that is a really good question. I would suspect that the highest you would reasonably be running into is about $10,000. Obviously we're talking rural, right? If you're in like a beach or something, I mean, could you find something for $10,000? Of course, but you'd be talking about, wow, that's a deal, right? If you find that, grab it anywhere. But I wouldn't be surprised if you could get down towards 5,000. The biggest problem that you'll probably run into is, well, one, just finding a place that you like, but also someone who's going to subdivide down to a manzana for you. That's where the challenge might come in, is just that most of the places, certainly some are small and some are subdivided like that, but most places that are subdividing much smaller, and places that are selling farmland by the manzana are typically in much bigger, like, we're selling 5 manzanas, sorry, not 1 manzana. And so you might get $5,000 per manzana, but you got to buy all 5 to get it. That might be the bigger challenge. But I think if you're looking at $10,000, that seems like a really safe number. And I hesitate to be like, I feel like you could get it below 5, but I feel like if you were really working at it, I bet you could find it a bit below 5. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some place you couldn't get it for like 3. Just not prime spots, obviously. Port City says, wow, I gladly pay $29 for property taxes, currently paying $5,000 a year in Canada. Yeah, it's a lot of these things are super low here, especially taxes. We're just not a heavily taxed country for most aspects. E. Garcia, my mother pays about $25 per year on a 6 to 7 acre farm. So that is he's probably thinking about a 4 manzana farm. So 25 per year. So that's something in the vicinity of $7 to $8 per manzana per year. That's probably lower than we pay in like the beach areas, but it gives you a pretty good ballpark of just how cheap it is. James says PCI 45 minutes north of the airport in Toronto, $12,000 in taxes on a gravel road, weekly garbage pickup, Canadian bargain. Byron says, thank you. Any videos regarding properties are really appreciated. I watch House Hunters International. That's how I actually found Nicaragua originally, was House Hunters International. Obviously, I did a ton of research since then, and I was not unfamiliar with it before then, but I didn't realize how beautiful it was. I'd never seen pictures of it until a House Hunters International episode around 2007. And my wife and I were watching it, and we're both just like, what? Oh my gosh. And then it took us a number of years before life came into play in such a way that Nicaragua fell onto our radar again. But when it did, we both said, remember that House Hunters International episode that we were so intrigued by? Well, let's go find out. And we did. And it was amazing. And we never left. That's not actually true. We did come. We left. We lived a whole bunch of places and came back after having tested a bunch of places. And a bunch of places that we loved. But at the end of the day, Nicaragua just checked the right boxes overall. Now Byron says, I watch House Hunters International, and of course they show houses to Americans and Canadians of prices $350,000 US and up. Yeah, so first of all, just be aware. I'm sure you guys are aware, but just in case. House Hunters International is fake. Now, that is not to say that there aren't $350,000 houses in the country. There are, of course. That's not an outrageous number. And if you're getting into some of the nicer parts of Managua, yeah, that will actually happen. If you're in San Juan del Sur, you're in an enclave, yep, those numbers will happen. And even numbers above $1 million will happen. They just get more and more rare. But also be aware that if you go look at House Hunters International Las Penitas as an example, every single property that they show on there is one that we know. Part of it is filmed from our front door. Every single number, plan, thing, everything is fake. All of it. They show outside of real place. They show actual houses. This is the value of House Hunters. They give you an actual thing. They did this whole thing of this, this couple's going to be here for a long time. They're investing. They're going to do a business. They're going to pay off this. It's going to cost this. Everything was fake. That was not the prices. That was not the places they took. One of the houses is one of our best friends. It's their house. Like, we really know these houses. Like, every single facility, we're like, oh yeah, we know these places really well. They're all our neighbors and people we know. And everyone's like, we remember the film crews being here. And there's shots where you're like, oh, that's our front door. Oh, this is from our other front door. Like, it's really funny. And they're talking about like rent numbers that are just absurd, and they're like, oh, they'll get all this money from getting renter. None of that exists. They never made a penny. The people I've been there for years, like right after House Hunter was there. They were never there. That, like, none of it was, they were real people. People met them, but they never became part of the beach, and the properties were just, they're all acting like they're buying special things and doing all this stuff. And it was just random people renting for a few months. So it is useful to see what's out there. They do a lot to make it seem more expensive than it is, because if people knew how cheap it was, people would be here. Like, you'd all be here right now. You'd just be getting on a plane. Sorry, can't watch the live stream to the end because I got to be on a plane. Right? That's the conversation that would be going. If you, I truly believe if people totally understood everything we were saying and believed it, right? It requires all those things. I think that so many people would just be like, wait, what is the realistic budget? What is life realistically like? How easy is it for me to really be there? How quickly can I get to the airport? Like, once that sinks in, it's like, wow, why am I not there? Or some other place that's fantastic that meets your needs. But and it took me a little bit. And once I was here in 2019 again, and just remembered how much I loved walking out the door and being in Nicaragua. When I came out the front door in the morning, I was like, I gotta move back. I need to make this happen now. And I was like, we gotta go. Like, I was so anxious to get back at that point. And since being back, it's like, oh, it's just so much better here day to day, everything. And so Jimmy and I have been hanging out. Unfortunately, Jimmy's not able to be on tonight because he's hanging out with some people, but it's like, he's like just looking at the eyes of people. People they're relaxed. They feel at peace. Everything's so good. Like, he's like, whatever, just everything's chill. Life is better. And you feel it. It's in the air. It's in the people you talk to. Except for guy on the beach, not Nicaraguan. And sometimes the expats bring the foreign BS with them. That drives me crazy. The local drama I can handle because it's mostly for entertainment. But the foreign drama pushes my buttons, because we came here to get away from that. I didn't want to have to deal with this anymore, and I realize that sometimes I'm the foreign drama, but I'm the limit I can handle, right? Yeah. Byron says, of course, these are usually beachfront properties or vacation homes. Of course, yeah, that's what's interesting to look at, which I really wish we could do more of a show. It's really hard in Nicaragua to show houses. Like it's all but impossible. And just a quick reminder while I'm talking, when I was busy looking at houses and helping people today. So this is the episode for today. We're not doing an extra daily for the day. I'm pushing too hard on the channel, and I want to not do that. Like it's just not good for the show or for me to do too much. And this week it's too much. So I'm not trying to double up today like I often do. So you don't need to go look for an extra episode, but please, if you're watching, take a moment to watch another couple episodes, even if you don't just let them play in the background after this. We definitely need the views, but it all helps. But we are going to cut early in about an hour and a half because I do have to drive my wife and some people to Managua at 4 a.m. and I need to get some sleep. I just have to. And today was a long day. Everything, normally I say everything's okay. Things are not actually okay, but we're going to figure things out. But it's actually been a really rough week, and I'm pretty exhausted. So we're letting a few things slip, but we're keeping the show going. Everything's moving forward. And that's why I got to go to Managua tomorrow. Gus Small says, amazing, such a great answer. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. Cheers from Toronto. Cool. I grew up not that far. I grew up in the Buffalo area, so Toronto was kind of my home city. Do people trick or treat in Nicaragua? From Barney13. Welcome, Barney. I don't think I've seen you on the live stream before. No, they do not. I am not aware of any trick or treating for Halloween. There are other events, which there are candy things that are kind of similar to that, not at Halloween. Halloween's very small here. People are aware of it. They mostly do it to mimic American culture, but it's on a very small scale. You might find trick-or-treating in some enclaves and stuff. I've never seen it in like Leon, Granada, anything like that. Don Johnson says, I'm going to be looking for a good cook in Leon. No one's ever looking for a bad cook. Who's going to hire the bad cooks? Like they're people too, If anybody knows someone, please refer to me. I'm a member of Scott's channel. Or you can respond back here. Yes. Oh, he's a member of the secret special private membership channel for those who want to send a message there. If anyone's wondering, there's a join button that you can click and join our super secret membership group. And if you do, please follow the instructions or reach out to me to get hooked up with our super secret group, because only about half the people who've joined have actually made it into the group so far. And we want to have you guys in the chat, so get in there. I know sometimes it's confusing, it's a new system that a lot of people haven't used, but it works really well, and we don't talk a lot, but it's nice that we have our little group having conversations and that we can bounce ideas off of each other and stuff. So I'm enjoying that. We also have non-private groups in there as well for random people. Okay. But the cook, I don't know a good cook that's available. You're not the only person looking for a cook today. James says, buddy who is a buddy who is a mason built this fireplace in a house for this rich lady that built for magazine photo shoot. They redecorated entire house. Their neighbor is Elton John, Canadian house. Oh, that's cool. Doesn't really relate to anything here, but that's an interesting story. That's pretty cool. Closest to Halloween is Aguasotes. From Personal Projects, Aguasotes. That's the holiday is Aguasotes. Aguasotes is celebrated in the area of Messiah and Granada, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. That sounds kind of true. Okay, this is our second dating scene question tonight. Interesting. It is a dating scene kind of night. I think the answer there is the dating scene is pretty good. The original question, or the first question, was what is the Leon dating scene like? And the answer is Leon has a very 20-something dating scene. There's just so many younger people because of the median age. Overall, especially PCI, if you're going to be in Managua, the dating scene is good, right? There's just a lot of people and they go out a lot, and a lot of times they go out because they're dating, right? Either they're on a date or they're looking to be able to be on a date, right? So the whole, to kind of recap quickly as to what we talked about earlier, The whole vibe of going out is super social. In Nicaragua, people are extroverted as a culture. They are open to conversations as a culture. And like if you're going to a bar or a restaurant or a activity, meeting people, talking to people, and the biggest thing, all that's very easy. The biggest thing is if you really want to meet people, you want to go out and you absolutely want to feel really confident that you're going to be in a position where you can easily meet people, go dancing. This is a dancing culture. It is what people do. That said, you want to go to, I'll use as an example, go to Via Via, which we do here in Leon. It is a big thing. Loads of the city go out on a Friday night. This is where the cross section of the city is. You're going to find, first of all, it's a huge venue. There's a giant table in the front with us, so you'll find us all the time. But you've got groups that come in from different parts of the country. You have some tables full of backpackers. You have some tables full of young locals who are, mostly living at home and unemployed. You'll have groups of people who are professionals who are out spending some money and hanging out with their friends. You'll find older groups of all doctors and stuff who are just, they just feel like being a little bit more social, but they have tons of money and don't need to be looking to save any money or something on a night out. Just everybody is going to be there, like all these different things. And it's amazing how often you go there, maybe not the first time you go, depending on how social and outgoing you are, but really quickly you tend to get recognized if you're going over and over again. People become comfortable with you really quickly when they see you again, but even if they haven't seen you again, a lot of people will come up and be like, hey, you're not from here, and they'll find some interest and they'll strike up a conversation. And that happens a bit. Of course, some of those people are just friendly people, but some of them will be someone interested in potentially going out with you. Like that's a very real thing. Now, the entire concept of dating culture here is absolutely different. Every aspect of it is different. The words, the approach, the expectations, everything. So it takes a little bit of getting used to have kind of and be very, I recommend very, very open with like, I don't understand local culture and expectations around dating. So, try to be super clear and ask them to be super clear. Like it just kind of needs to be. But everyone I know who has come down and is trying to date in the country has had, I feel, quite good success at rates you would never imagine somewhere else. At every age range and demographic group, like it's not, and it's not just expats, right? Nicaraguans, same thing. Like Nicaraguans who are dating Nicaraguans, constantly meeting people. It's just a culture that's so much looking to be with someone and so social and open to making connections that it makes the dating scene very simple compared to and effective compared to other cultures like North America or Europe, where meeting people has a lot of friction and stress and risk. I think it's much, much lower here. Edwin says, no, Barney, we don't do that here. That's trick-or-treating. Byron says, living in the Bay Area and working in the city. Traffic is horrendous. What's your 4 a.m. drive to Managua going to be like? Please don't tell me bumper-to-bumper traffic. So first, if you look at a map, let me just bring that up for you guys. I think this is a little bit more interesting than just staring at my super handsome face this whole time. Let's give you an idea of what we're going to be doing. So I am coming from, I need to zoom out just a little bit more. Here we go. Okay, this is Leon up here, and this is Managua down here. So we really have no cities in between us. We do, but they're very small cities. La Paz Centro, Nagarote, Ciudad Sandino, Mataare, all those are along the path heading to Managua. Now that's if we take the new road, which is the northern one. If we take the southern route, there's basically nothing. We come right into the city. I'm hoping I get to take the southern route tomorrow because it is way easier for getting where I need to go in the city. But and it's close enough that basically as soon as you leave Leon, you've got to make decisions about which road you take because it'll affect where you enter the city and it'll affect which roads in the city you want to actually end up on. Come on, let me move. Okay, so in the middle of the night, you guys can bring up your own map if you want to stare at a map a whole bunch, but this gives you an idea. of where we need to be, and I'll just point out in Managua where we're headed. It's more or less this area here, kind of near the M in Managua, but it's on a main road. So in the middle of the night, driving inappropriately fast, we were able to go from the airport to Sutiava in 74 minutes. And that's from the airport, like airport road, construction, everything, 74 minutes. So that's pretty crazy. We're not going to do that tomorrow. But even driving relatively conservatively on an afternoon, I can normally make it to the mall, which is near the farthest point in Managua. Not quite. It's not like a record, but it's pretty far across the city. And unless there's like an accident or construction, you can do it right about 2 hours. So that's not bad. Now, if you go at rush hour, that's maybe 6:30. It's certainly not going to be bumper to bumper, but it is going to be traffic, and you'll be slow because somebody's going to be a horse-drawn cart. Someone's going to be a truck that can't make it up the hill. Someone's going to be in an old taxi that's not going very fast. So you're going to constantly have these things that slow you down. It is not unreasonable for that commute to become 3 hours, but I'm leaving at 4 a.m. partially because I need to make sure that this bug that flies into my eye goes away. I don't know why it's flying into my eye. Is I want to make sure that we don't have any of those problems and I can't miss the appointment. Very important timing. So I'm getting there with lots of time to spare, but it also means, and realistically, I'm probably not leaving till 4:30. It also means that there won't be any traffic until I hit the city. So likely I'm going to make it all the way across 2 hours and a quarter, I hope, 2 hours and a half at the worst. So we'll see. But it should not be too bad. Mostly it's going to be wide open highway. And as long as you're not during rush hour, it's really a pleasant drive, especially the northern route, the newer one. It just goes by a lot of neat shops, cute cities. And by neat shops, I mean like little restaurants where you can grab a snack or 24-hour places that have bathrooms and gas and Quickie Mart kind of stuff. But they're nice. And if you're not a vegetarian like me, a pescatarian like me, one of the cool things is like every little place has like neat hot dogs and other little things with meat that you could stop and be like, it's not great, but this is a perfectly acceptable fancy hot dog kind of thing on the road. Really easy at 1 a.m., right? It's really not a problem. So yeah, I think that other than me being tired, the drive will be fine. Like easy peasy. Edwin says, only in television they do celebrate Halloween here in Nicaragua. Oh, right. Nicaragua television probably shows them celebrating, but we don't really do it in practice. I mean, I've been here for a lot of Thanksgiving, or a lot of Halloweens, and I've not seen anything. It's a Chilean wine night, by the way. It's quite good. Oh, it's mellowed out because I've had it open for however long, 2.25 hours. It's just hit the spot. It's good. Warm, but good. Antonio Godinez? Yeah, Godinez. All right. Let me know if I got that right, Antonio. How's the ceviche? Fantastic, obviously. I'm moving there this December. Awesome. Dropping everything and just going. That's great. And well, I don't think I've seen you on the channel before, or at least commenting on the live stream. So awesome. Great to have you here. And yeah, the ceviche is really good. Now, of course, I own a ceviche place, so I'm partial to. No, I actually don't eat that much ceviche. I will totally eat it when it's the thing that is served. Like I'll be like, it's kind of like sushi. I was talking to Jimmy about this today. Sushi is one of those things where I like sushi, but I don't like sushi as much as everyone else likes sushi. And so everyone else wants to have sushi more often than I want to have sushi, but I like it, so I get it with them. So I never want sushi because I've always had enough sushi to satisfy whatever desire I have for it. I'm in kind of the same boat with ceviche. I like sushi more than ceviche normally. Just like a good sushi, a good ceviche is quite good. I like it. One complaint: nobody gives you enough crackers. Why? It's the cheapest part of the meal. Give me more crackers. Twice as many. They give me the good ones, right? They're giving me the right crackers almost always. So that part's great. Same ones I buy for the house, right? But I need more of them. I don't want to eat the ceviche without a cracker. It doesn't work, and I can't fit enough on the cracker to make it work. That's my ceviche complaint in the country. There aren't enough crackers. Ever. Not even close. But yeah, there is really good ceviche. I live basically on the beach. There's got to be 4 or 5 really good ceviche places just on my beach alone. Plus, everyone in the city has it. There's great ceviche, Don Ceviche in Managua, and other places too now. Whole like ceviche party place. Well worth going if you're a ceviche head. Is that a term? I don't know. Ceviche head sounds like what you get when you grab someone and hold their head down in lime juice. I'm so pissed at you. And then, why do you look like that? Oh man, I got ceviche head. I got dunked in lime juice for 10 minutes. Sorry, it's getting late. It's been a long day. And yeah, you'll be great with ceviche for sure. And for those who don't know, ceviche is kind of like raw seafood, but it's cooked in a citrus acid, so it is cooked, but it is chemically cooked, so it's cold cooked. So you have to be a little bit careful with it, but it's a delicacy everywhere from, as far as I know, most of Mexico, definitely way down into South America. A lot of South America, like Peru, really, really big with that. Chile, really big with that. Ecuador, like all that. But up here, quite popular. Very, very major thing. PCI says, is Spanish imperative or can I get by with English? Spanish is not imperative. You do want to start learning it, put in the effort, grab your Duolingo, get started with that, definitely. But is it something that you're going to panic and be like, what have I done? I don't think so. I've never moved to a place like Nicaragua where I had 0 Spanish, but I have been to like Portugal and France without ever having studied the languages. And so you can't in any way say that I spoke them. I think I got along pretty well. I've lived in like Greece and Ukraine where I can't even read the alphabet when I first got there. That is a level of hard, but honestly, even in those places, it's not that hard. And I lived in those places. I also lived in Romania, which is a modified Latin alphabet, and it's far enough that it is a Latin language, but wow. And all of them, I had a gap where it's like, oh, there's things I wish I could do. But even in like Ukraine, I quickly learned to read Cyrillic and was able to figure out the super basics. And a lot of things are just symbols. Like so often you don't need to read. You don't realize how often you don't need to read. The harder the language, the more people will speak English because they know no one can learn their language and they have a hard language. Here you're going to be, struggling to find English speakers most of the time, but what task in life is going to make you need to speak Spanish? Basically nothing. But you will enjoy every bit of Spanish that you're able to use. So I recommend learning as much as you can, because whether it's just finding a menu so much more rapid, or finding the interest in being able to read the signs around you, or you want to be able to carry on a conversation, that's super unlikely, right? That's really hard to do. But all those little things, each little piece that you add, and if you're thinking of being here for 3 months, if you could get a little bit of that Spanish under your belt now, then when you do come down, I think you will be like, oh, with 3 months, like I'm going to be able to have these really basic conversations, and you're going to feel great about it. And it's going to be like this whole connection. And it's going to open a lot of Latin America and Spain to you and make you feel like you have not just this cool connection to Nicaragua, but potentially a connection to a much larger region where that is a language that is used. And if you're like me and put in a bit more time with Spanish and really enjoy languages, even though I'm horrendous at them, I speak a little bit of Italian, Catalan, French, and can get by reading Portuguese. That has really made it that it's huge swaths of the European influence world I'm able to travel to and effectively just read everything, if not have conversations. Italian, I can carry on conversations, or at least could in the past. So it gets better the more you know, but don't worry about it being a barrier. Lots of people move here with none at all. They make a full move, not just come down for 3 months, which great, but people actually pack up their entire lives, move down, and are like, I hope I learn the language, and that's it, right? And they get by just fine. Now, if you want to take a class, all the better, right? Start now, all the better, but you'll be fine. Big Shirley, I look forward to being your friend when I move down there with my family. Awesome. We look forward to having you as well, Big Shirley. That's awesome. You are a solid individual, and thank you for taking the time. Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Barney13 says, my friend just told me they do trick-or-treating in private residential communities in Managua. I'm not surprised by that. Definitely be private ones that are mostly... I mean, part of it is just the whole idea of walking up to people's doors is weird in the middle of the cities. Like, yeah, I can see why you would, but it's weird at times. There are festivals that we do that are different where they're not necessarily giving out candy. There is one where we do like candles in windows and people put in like little shrine things and then they give out candy. We do that here in Leon. That's kind of cool. And it's really similar to the trick-or-treating thing. But it's not at the same time of year. I'm not sure when it is. James says, stress, avoid it avoid stress like the plague for sure. Guess you never had a famous dirty hot dog in New York City. I was a vegetarian, not the first time that I visited New York City, but by the time I moved to New York City, I had been a vegetarian for a long time. I've been a vegetarian now for 23 years. So it's been a long time. Antonio says, you said my name right. Awesome. I try my best. Janet says, Ramon loves the shrimp ceviche. Does he have a spot that he really likes it, Janet? Who's good? Orenia Beach, obviously. Everyone knows Orenia Beach for ceviche, but most of the good places do it, so it's not too hard. Backyard Bandit. Hey, Barney. I've only been to Managua, but yes, they do trick-or-treating in Managua. 2 private communities that offer it are La Estancia and Bosques de San Isidro, both in the Santo Domingo area. Those are residencias, private gated communities. Santo Domingo is a barrio. A nice barrio. Which I drove around with my kids last week. Wow, was it cool. It was super cool. Not that I've never been there. I've been there a lot, but to really go through like Los Altos, that was cool. Dale says they've got 2-way translation devices on Amazon for like $40 to $50. Figure one of those will help. I've not played with any of those. I haven't seen anybody play with them, but yeah, they probably do some cool stuff. TJ says me, but I'm not sure what's in reference to. E. Garcia, Scott, how's the process of getting a cell phone line in addition to the U.S. line? So we just did this with Jimmy. I've done it myself in the past, but his is current. We went to Passport Perk says, I'm in Brazil now. How's the Portuguese? I find Portuguese hard. I like it, but I find it hard. Reading is okay, but speaking, whew. And I do a bit of work in northern Argentina and in central Bolivia. And in Bolivia, there's a lot of Portuguese, a lot of Brazilians speaking Portuguese in Bolivia because they like to be on vacation. I heard a reason why they were there. I don't know if it was like schools or something are cheaper. I don't know. But there was a lot. I was surprised by the amount of Portuguese that we were hearing there. But you guys see, so the process, so I use Tigo. Jimmy's using, everyone in my sphere of influence uses Tigo. Again, I'm not saying Tigo is better. I'm saying that I randomly picked it and then everyone else randomly picks it because it's what I have. So that's been going on. Claro should really sponsor this channel and I will switch because I'm, open to being bought, and because it's completely random. It really is. No, there's actually a reason. I have T-Mobile from the United States, which gives me access to Claro towers here. So I do have Claro, but via T-Mobile. I then have a Tigo line here, so I have the 2 carriers. So I have both lines of service here, and I have both of them on eSIM, just in case anyone's carrying. But that's a new thing. I just got my Tigo moved to eSIM. Because some people have asked about that, and it's just one of those things that we hadn't gotten around to. So Jimmy needed to get a line. So we went to the Tigo store. You do have to have a cedula or a passport. Make sure you have your national ID with you. Things like driver's licenses are not your IDs. So make sure you have, take everything you have, right? Passport for sure. When I did it, I don't think I had a passport. Marcella used her cedula for me. I used my cedula for Jimmy. He didn't have his passport. So we're kind of a chain of phone accounts. It's a little bit weird. None of us are the ID on our own account. But pretty much I gave them my cedula. He had to pay it was basically the same as what I did, roughly $3 to get a SIM card and a phone number. And then he immediately bought 15 days of service, because why would you get a phone and not have service? You get like a day, but he bought 15 days, and that's about 200 cords, so $6. So all in all, it was just about $10. I think we came in at a total of $9 to get a line with 15 days or 16 days of service up and running. They did everything for him there. They're like, oh, do you want us to put in your SIM card? They gave him the tool. He wanted to do it. He did it himself. They played with the phone, made sure it worked. They sent him a text message. The whole thing, you're sitting inside an air-conditioned shop right in front of Via Via, like around the corner. Very easy. Probably took 20 minutes. It wasn't instant, but it was not very long. But definitely easy. And then while I was sitting there, I'm like, hey, can I have my SIM card converted to an eSIM? He said, yeah. I think that was like a $2 fee. I'm not sure why, but it was very cheap. Maybe it was $2.50. And that took a little bit. They had a few problems with it. And I like my Apple iMessage won't connect, but Apple iMessage is dumb, so I don't care. That's kind of all it was. It was very, very easy for both transactions, and we got two important things done while we were there. So I think that answers everything. And because it is just getting a new SIM card, you automatically don't need to do anything for having dual lines, right? So for me, my T-Mobile has always been an eSIM, so that's no problem at all. I can have, at least 8, if not 16 or 32, or they told me I could have like ridiculous numbers, but how many can anybody need of eSIMs on my phone? So my T-Mobile eSIM is always there. Mine still can take a SIM card. So long ago, I got a Tigo line, popped that in physically because they didn't offer eSIMs back when I got it, which is years ago. And then I just took the time because I was there and had them convert it, because you have to go into the store and have Tigo themselves do the conversion into eSIM, but it was very easy. You do have to have Wi-Fi working. If you have a VPN, turn that off. It'll make things not work. And I think that's like everything. Like it really is pretty basic across the board. Like no effort, not expensive, just works. If you have an older phone that doesn't use eSIM, but has 2 SIM slots, just put 2 cards in. Pretty much everything has eSIM these days. Everything since like the iPhone 12, and then Android typically is a little bit trailing on that, but only by like a year. So it's like 3-4 years now. Basically, everybody's had eSIMs. Brent says, hello, everyone. Enjoyed the Jimmy Chronicles this week. Hey, Brent, how's it going? Good. I'm liking, it's nice having him on. It's nice having some variety and someone who can talk in English. Like having Marcella on is great. I doesn't speak English, so it's hard for her to contribute a lot. I can film her doing things, but it's nice to have someone who can actually talk and provide some input. And the input of an expat who's learning what's going on and like discovering things for the first time, obviously, is really cool. Janet says, La Griteria, religious sort of like trick-or-treating in Leon, December 7th. Okay, I'll try to get that recorded for people. I always forget which thing it is. Yeah, that makes sense that it's that. Janet says he orders at Via Via. Oh, the cat is interrupting her typing, but Via Via for the ceviche. Dale says, I love that Toronto hot dog stands all had a veggie dog. 2 loonies and all the toppings you need. Oh my gosh, I miss veggie dogs in Toronto and San Francisco. That's like the only reason to live in those cities. But that was so good. And also in Toronto, they're hot dogs of all kinds. They offer corn relish. I love corn relish on veggie dogs, any dog. But that's such a missing thing other places. People have not got like cheddar cheese and corn relish, maybe some mustard. That is the way to do a veggie dog. Load that up. Yum. Johnny Hernandez. Hey, welcome. Have you ever tried Indio Viejo stew? I have not, because I'm vegetarian. I would love it, but it has a lot of meat in it, unfortunately. I've seen it. I'm aware of it. Brent says, just got a new cell phone this week for my trip there in a few weeks. My old one was so ancient it did not have 2 SIM slots. Wow, what'd you get, Brent? What are you on? James said, I miss sausage carts. Yeah, ever get 2 large samosa? Wait, 2 large samosas for Looney. Oh, in Indian neighborhood. He did mean samosas. Oh my gosh, samosa carts. I've lived in some pretty serious Indian communities like Edison, New Jersey, and they never had samosa carts. I feel that I've really missed out on that. And I go to Costa Rica for Indian food. No samosa carts. Costa Rica's missing out. What is going on? Tom is here. Tom McEwen. Scott, outside of Leon, what is your next favorite city area of the country? For sure, Matagalpa. Absolutely love Matagalpa. I mean, there's lots of places I like, but Matagalpa always stands out as it's my most exciting place to go. I mean, someplace new is always my most exciting place to go. But of places I've been before, the place I want to go back to the most is always Matagalpa. A little bit of a long drive. That's why we don't do it all the time. My wife really has problems with the mountain drive, so she doesn't like to go up there very much. But Matagalpa is just such a beautiful town, and it's so different. I love the vibe, the culture. I love the weather, of course. The coffee. Life going on up there is amazing. As I'm saying all this, I feel like I just need to rent an Airbnb up there for like a long weekend, someplace with space for my dogs, so I can take my dogs, my kids, and chill. That's my biggest reason I don't spend a lot of time moving around Nicaragua, moving around like longer term for things, because I want my dogs with me, and going places and then staying. One night is okay, but being away from my dogs is hard. Like, why do you have dogs if you want to be away from them? I don't want to be away from them. I love my dogs, and mine is sleeping right there. I'm looking at her. Well, she's underneath my cabinets. Okay, that's really funny. I don't know what she's doing. My kids normally go with me, so that's fine. But I want to have the family together and go places. So that's the biggest thing that holds me back. And it takes time and money, obviously. But I love Matagalpa. Lots of places are nice. Jinotega is very nice, but it's almost like it's part of Matagalpa. On its own, I feel like it lacks a lot, but when you combine it with Matagalpa, fantastic area. Esteli's nice. I never stay in Chinandega. I mean, I have, but really I just go up to Chinandega for like the day. It's so close, but it's a nice city. I like doing some city stuff up there. I really like Managua. I enjoy my time there a lot, and I think my kids are pretty much on the fence. I think their most likely places to move when they're older are Managua, because it's so easy, or Guatemala City. But I know on their list of considerations are San Salvador, Buenos Aires, Lima. There's some, I don't think Panama City will make their list. Bogota might. They love big cities. And I think they would really like Cochabamba, but I think it's a little bit hard to get in and out for them. I think they're going to want a place that they can get to us really easily. And if they were to live in a Lima, a Bogota, a Guatemala City, all those are like, oh, I'm going to go see the kids for the weekend, or I'm going to go spend the week with the kids, and I'll be there in a couple hours, very little effort. You go to like Cochabamba, and it's like, oh, it is so hard to get in and out of Cochabamba. I love Cochabamba. What a great city. It's so hard to get in and out. I don't know. I do love Cochabamba a lot. Maybe they'll go there. My eldest used to want to live in the Sacred Valley, which is a lot closer to. It's in Peru, of course, but it's a lot closer to the border of Bolivia at La Paz. I have a hard time imagining my kids seeing La Paz as a city for them. I think they'll really like it, but I just don't imagine them living there. Whereas like a Lima, which I don't know that well, I think would fit their vibe. I feel like they'd just be like, ooh, I'm into this. Buenos Aires, I know they could live in without a second thought, and they're very interested in spending some time there. But I think that's too far away for them. I think the Guatemala cities, the San Salvadors, those kinds of places, they're just exactly what they want, but really close and cost effective. But Managua, I really like a lot, and they do too. TJ is retracting a whole bunch of stuff. What's going on, TJ? Granada, I really like if you're doing like a weekend thing, but I don't like it for living. Messiah, I haven't spent enough time in. I think it'd be really nice, but I kind of like Messiah where it isn't Messiah more than like Messiah where it is, if that makes sense. Like the outskirts of Messiah have so much to offer. I really like. This is funny, but I've not spent enough time in Rivas to have an opinion. I need to spend some time in Rivas, Boaco, Huigalpa, and get a stronger opinion of those cities. And of course, there's small places too. But I think Matagalpa is my obvious pick. with Managua as my secondary pick. If I was going to move to another city, if you said Leon is underwater, you have to live somewhere else. Those are the two that we'd be discussing. I think we'd end up in Matagalpa. But if my kids end up being like, no, I want to be in Managua, yeah, we'd be like, I always want to be close to the kids. That's more important. Pork City. Wow, so you can't tell me how steak tastes in Nicaragua. Just kidding. Congrats on the vegetarian diet. I can tell you a little bit because I own a steakhouse, and I pay very close attention to a lot of people doing a lot of things with steak. So I have a pretty good idea what the steak is like. I know a lot of very heavy meat eaters, so I get a lot of feedback. And we are very seriously, so this talk is moving forward, and we're seriously discussing how to do this, doing a Nicaragua in 7 steaks tour, where and Jimmy, so my thought was 7 days, but I was really worried about having people eat 7 steaks in 7 days, for obvious reasons, right? We'll spend all of our time helping people hopefully get to a bathroom. It'll be bad. So Jimmy said it might be better if we did it over a course of 14 days, and that way did a steak a day and then a day of much lighter eating, and not go to more places, so everybody gets like a full, complete day without travel on each location. And there's a couple places that we know we want to do. We know we want to do Managua. We know we want to do Jinatepe. We know we want to do Huigalpa. We know we want to do Leon. There's actually a double stop in Leon. And we know we want to do Chinandega. I've heard rumors that maybe Esteli. I need to do some investigation to really know who's got the best steaks. And we're not going to go, unless there's some blow-your-mind reason to go there, we're not going to go all the way down to San Juan del Sur. We're definitely not going out to Ometepe. We have to limit the space and the amount of driving that has to be done to make it really good. But we want to make it that it is an exciting country tour. Like, obviously the steaks are like a centerpiece, but the steaks are to give us a reason to be in 7 really unique, interesting locations for the trip. And maybe it'll end up being 8, maybe it'll end up being 6, but that's the theme is Nicaragua in 7 steaks. And hitting a bunch of places that you would not normally go, and doing activities you would not normally do. And the example that I really love, and the thing that kicked this all off is when I showed this, is La Hacienda in Huigalpa is so completely out of the way and ridiculous location. And everyone, me included, who looks at pictures of it goes, I want to go there. I want to go there and have a steak and sit in that beautiful dining room, and I want to stay in their beautiful hotel and be in this completely out-of-the-way location and see a piece of Nicaragua no one has ever seen, because it's in Chantales, in the middle of nowhere. It's not even in the city. And it's like this beautiful spot, and this getting to it will be this important part of the journey. And eating there will be this important thing. And it'll give us, like, if we have a group, so we'd really like to have, I think we can't do it with fewer than like 7 people, and I'd really like to have like 2 vans where we have 12 people that are doing it, and really get a chance to hang out and make it like a big thing. Like, we want to arrange with all the restaurants where they have a thing set aside for us. We can order ahead. We've got menus, so we know exactly what we're doing. We have accommodations tied up. So I want to make it like a kind of high-end tour of the country, with food as a centerpiece, and exploring interesting regions that are not touristy for the most part, and seeing just a completely different Nicaragua. It just sounds exciting to me, even as a non-meat eater, right? Like that, it just seems super fun to have a tight group of people doing this for like 2 weeks, and it wouldn't be Nicaragua on a budget, but it also wouldn't be, let's see how much money we can spend, because some of these really nice places, like quite nice, we're not talking $100 a night for the hotel. So if we're talking about a 2-week vacation with steak as a theme, yeah, the meals are going to be pricey meals for Nicaragua, but the hotels are going to be middle of the road, like shooting for like maybe an average of $80 to $90 per night. You could have 2 people in there, right? It could be 2 people that are, just friends sharing a room, or you're taking a spouse, or whatever, and I don't think it would be too bad. And then if we had like 2 vans that are taking everyone, the actual cost of the transit from day to day, yeah, it would be a lot more expensive than an average just backpacking trip around Nicaragua, but it wouldn't be probably very expensive compared to just going to another country like Mexico or something. Brent says, new phone would be to your liking. Samsung. Just always had them, so just something I'm used to. Port City says, so your kids grew up in Nicaragua. That's not quite true, I'll explain. Did they attend international school? So no, my kids, so first of all, they were born New York and Texas. But they started moving abroad when my oldest was, I want to say 6. But we knew before we moved abroad that they were going to live abroad. Our goal was always. So she was probably 3 when we made the judgment call we were going to be, no, probably younger. She was probably 1 when we made the judgment call we were going to move abroad, but not until we had all of our kids. So we waited until we had our second. A third was medically impossible. So we originally thought we were probably going to have 3 kids. Ended up with just 2. So once our second was born, we immediately knew that a third was not safe. And so we were like, okay, now we're kind of, we got to wait till she's old enough. But we went backpacking for 2 months to help figure out our international move when she was 13 months old. So we did not wait long. Like, she's safe to fly. We're good. We're out of here. But they were just entering school. The oldest was just entering school age as we moved to our very first country, which was Spain. And we, coming from Texas, we did not want to be involved in the Texas school system. So we always planned on homeschooling. My wife's family, full of teachers. My mom was a teacher. My grandmother was a teacher. I have taught private school. My wife has taught private school. So we've both done, we're not trained educators, but both of us have a lot of background and have done it. Both of us can teach at university. I can teach through PhD programs in several subjects. We both have a lot of different areas of education, a lot of things we're interested in. And so teaching at home, even though we do use generally an online curriculum, so they're very formal and following a process, the amount of things that we're able to help with is pretty broad. So if my kids want to talk about English or literature, I guess that's the same, English and literature, or they want to do private studies, or they want to learn programming, or they want to do business studies, or they want to do history or math or science. My wife was a forensic biochemist. She worked in both pharmaceutical and in forensics. I've worked in something like 40 industries. So between us, we definitely have more than an average kid would have exposure to through a public school system. So we've always homeschooled because we had a lot of flexibility, but we moved countries constantly. And so we knew that even if we found amazing local schools, which sometimes we could, we wouldn't reliably always be able to do so. And they'd be constantly being pulled in and out and going through different programs. It would be horrendous. So because we were doing so much moving with them at a young age, it was off the table. Plus they'd be constantly interfacing with different languages, because we've lived in countries that lived in, right, Spanish, English, Ukrainian, Romanian, Italian, Greek. I think that's it. But those are really dramatic. Those are not things that as a kid you would adjust to very easily. That'd be really, really tough. Hold on, I gotta check a message here. So that's just always been, and it's been great. It really has. Where some people do homeschool because they don't want their kids to have the same exposure. Like, I don't want them to. No, we just want our kids to have more education. We don't want them to be limited or missing out. And so we wanted to give them more, but also more flexibility. And our kids are bright and quirky, and they're not good with schedules. And they're partially because we never made them be, right? But they've naturally come up with processes and schedules and stuff that are better for them. And when they have free time, their free time isn't, I'm going to watch TV. I mean, everybody does sometimes. But their free time is like, let's do interesting things. Like my daughter is like, oh, you do a live stream? I want to do all the thumbnails and do real artwork for all the thumbnails. And it's like, awesome. They do so much artwork and animation and video game research and writing and like stuff. They're always doing stuff. So having more free time doesn't give them more time to goof off. It gives them more time to actually do projects, which is kind of the goal of school, to teach you how to be able to do projects they're already doing. So it's been really cool. So that is that has been our kids' thing. So my kids didn't grow up in Nicaragua per se. They grew up in a bunch of different countries. Nicaragua was an important developmental step for them from they were very young. They were quite young when they first lived here. And now they're 13 and 15, and we've been here for about 4 years. So they're about 11 and 9 when we moved back, which is really hard for me to believe that they were that. It's hard to remember how young they were when we came back. But yeah, they were much younger. So they've had more growing up in Nicaragua in their minds than anywhere else. And I am months away from Nicaragua being the place, Leon, Nicaragua specifically, being the place that I have lived as a metro area longer than any other in my life, except for as a child when I grew up on a farm. But really quickly, we're about to pass any other place I've ever lived since I was an adult in total length of time for a single city. My longest ones are currently Dallas, New York City, Rochester, New York. I'm missing something big. But those are, Ithaca, New York. Like, those are completely different cultural zones, completely different everythings, and each one is a place that I put in many years. But Nicaragua is just about to pass Dallas as the longest one that I've ever been in one place. And so certainly for me, Nicaragua is kind of our home, and certainly for my kids, especially in like 2 or 3 more years, it's going to be really hard for them to imagine anywhere else being what they think of as their childhood. Right now, the way that they think of their childhood mostly is as kind of transitory. They think of it as a mix of Spain and Greece, and some places like Ukraine and Panama have made very little impressions on them, but places like Italy and Spain and Greece and Romania for sure are very burned into their consciousness as bits of their images of childhood and childhood development. TJ says, I'm down for the tour. James says, go away for the weekend and no modern amenities. Something computer, just family. It's real wind down. I really can't go without the computer and stuff. My life doesn't allow for that, but I do like to get away and hang out with the family. And we do that in Managua all the time, but I like to take the dogs and do something a little bit longer, someplace that isn't quite so expensive and a little bit different. Port City says, oh, you own a steakhouse. I'll have to check it out. Yes, I do. It's actually really well regarded, and that's what our grand reopening is, the big party on November 2nd. So in just over a week, we have a massive party going on there. TJ says, the steakhouse I went to last time I was here was good. Port City says, 12 people is only 6 couples, very doable. That's what I'm thinking, right? I could be 12 people plus 2 drivers, presumably, because you'd have to have 2 vehicles for that number of people, and then I assume like me and someone helping me, because you'd have a guide in each vehicle. So a total actually of more like 16, but it really seems like that would work. I think it would be a really comfortable group of people where everybody could hang out and have people that they meet and get along with, and there's enough interesting things that you just be like really having fun. And of course, I'd be filming through the whole thing, so we got to take people from the channel who are like, this is a cool chance to be like as part of the experience as we film all the different places we go and the drive. And I think it sounds really fun to me for sure. Larry's here, just jump back on watching NFL. The best steakhouse in Nicaragua is Porterhouse. It is near TGI Fridays on the Carretera Messiah. Dale says, it's a shame how traditional schools stifle the love of learning in so many kids. It's true, and they did that to me, or made me feel that way. Made me feel like I had to escape it. We are so glad watching like my kids versus their cousins. Their cousins all go to traditional school in Texas, and it's all about every moment of their day being filled. They have no free time, no activities, no hobbies, no decision making. Just every moment is scheduled, and life is so busy, and there's so many things they don't get to do. Hey, do you want to go to a museum today? Nope, can't. School. Hey, do you want to go to this conference and learn a thing? Ooh, I just discovered this new thing. Do you want to do a project together and learn something really valuable that could be part of your future? Nope, can't. I have to go to school. Hey, you want to learn? Nope, I have to go to school. That was my biggest takeaway. All the way through school, even through university, I wanted to learn, and school at every moment was the alternative to learning. And everyone that I ever watched go through school, some people don't want to spend their time learning things, and I get that. So for those people, school isn't the big problem that it is. But for people who want to learn or do things, school represents a barrier to education. And working in the field that I do, it's a real thing that we have to look at with the people we hire, is that, oh, you spent a bunch of time in school. When did you get a chance to learn anything? And consistently we find the best people are the people who learned everything, never went to school, and are looking for work already. And I didn't want that for my kids. That experience for me was so incredibly negative. Now, obviously, I'm non-traditional in every aspect of my life. Like, it's just who I am. But that is, if it's not obvious, and I've said this before, like, I'm definitely autistic, and we're pretty confident that my wife is too. But that's something we learned very recently. We always knew that she was very non-traditional for her family. But now that she's older and there's a lot more known about autism signs in girls, if you look at her behaviors, they're so different than mine. And obviously I'm quirky for anything. Like, I'm just quirky. That's part of who I am. But that I'm autistic is in addition to being quirky. And so for a long time, my wife would be like, you're so frustrating because you're autistic. And then at some point, we figured out that there's a lot of things that she finds really irritating about me, but they are things she finds with lots of people. They may be worse with me, but she finds them with lots of people. And so I was doing some research on, like, she's like, why can't you do this thing? So I was doing some research. Why can't I do this thing? Because to me, it doesn't even make sense. How could a person do that thing? I don't understand. Like, I understand some things, like I'm colorblind. I understand that other people can see colors that I can't see. So I understand how they do the thing they do and why I can't. I'm there. But then there's other things, normally linguistic things, that she'll be like, why can't you understand what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't know, because if you write this down as text, no computer program could figure out what you're saying. Like, I'm a programmer. I know that what you're saying can't be run through an algorithm to determine what you mean. So there's some part of this communication that I'm missing entirely that are not involved in the words that you're expecting me to know, and I don't have the capacity to know them. That part I know. I know I don't have the capacity to understand it. But I can't figure out how anyone has the capacity to understand it. And so I did a bunch of research, like, how do I understand what she... And when I did the research of what is wrong with me, how do I, with autism, get past this, it kept coming up to, the problem is that I have a type of autism, which is really common in boys, that causes this kind of really difficult thing with communications, where I have to have all this explicit stuff and I cannot do the implications. And in girls, the autism really common thing is to leave out context so that there's no concrete way to know what there is. So it turns out, from this we discovered, yes, I have some serious communications problems that everybody has with me, but she has universal communications problems with everyone as well. And when you put the two together, the Venn diagram of where we overlap is a horrifying gap where she will really often say things that I have literally no possibility of guessing. Other people guess what she means and often get it. But I know people who are very not autistic who are like, who will privately be like, I have no idea what you mean either. Right? And you're like, okay. So it's not just me, but, because obviously she's my wife, so we talk a lot. But so my kids, all that is, my kids come from not just being raised by two parents who appear to both be autistic, which is challenging in and of itself, but then of course their DNA is very likely to give them a lot of those attributes. And so traditional learning and stuff is very difficult for them naturally, and it's expected. Edwin says the Sunday time will switch in Europe. Oh, yeah, that's true. So 8 p.m. Central European time will be 1 p.m. Central American, or yeah, Central Standard Time. Central America time, I think. Or maybe Central Standard Time. That's a different time zone. Joe Hudson, Scott, we love your channel. It's been super educational and fun to be connected to Nicaville. Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Welcome. We have a son living in Puerto Cabeza, Bilwi. Any chance you're going to do one of your city tours up north? So to be clear, that is up north. It is more north than anything else. It is also really far east. I believe Bilwi is the farthest eastern city in the country. It is far. I really want to go up there and do that. Let me know. Send me an email so we can connect. How old is your son? What does he do up there? Why is he living there? Why? Inquiring minds. Bilwi is a really quirky spot for like a couple people on my channel have been really interested in it, and I do have a car that can go out there now, and I think Jimmy is like super down for road trips out there. So we're definitely going to be talking about it pretty soon once some things settle down here. Oh, I hope they settle down here. But I'd love to do it. It is hard. It is far and complicated, and I don't want to go out there and be like, what do we do? I want to get out there and really be able to film and get you guys good material from it. But it would be really interesting because it's so different from what people are used to seeing on the show. So I think it would be amazingly popular because who else is filming Bilwi? PCI says public school prepares you for jail or to be an employee, very specifically a factory-like employee, really rudimentary, just follow directions employee. What time is sunrise and sunset? So they vary a little bit, but we're really close to the equator, so it doesn't vary as much as you would think. Whoever that guy was that was super upset, what the heck was his name? He was really upset that he couldn't find, because he refused to shop in any kind of sensible way or go to any kind of sensible location. He was just really angry that he couldn't find bacon at the wrong store. Like literally, he wouldn't go to the proper store and was like, this store, Nicaragua sucks if this corner store doesn't have this kind of bacon. And he was really angry about the time of sunsets because he didn't know how latitudes worked. Like the number of things he didn't know how they worked, and then was angry at Nicaragua or me because of it. I'm like, but dude, it's just the sunset. Like, do you not know how the sunset works? Like, what? He's like, the days are so, I don't even know if it was long or short. Whatever it was, he was coming during like one of the seasons, summer or winter up north, where the sun is very long or short, and then he was like upset that it was different here. What now? It's the tropics. So anyway, current time, is this the right, did I get the right location? Hold on. No. What? Why did it show me Chicago? Yes, I'm in Chicago. I want to know that time. Right around now, sunrise is about 5:37, and sunset is about 5:29. So it's really close. We're pretty much 12 and 12 much of the year. Obviously, this time of year it tends towards being very even for this region. Janet says, your non-school thing is similar to my dad. He didn't think engineers were very smart because they learned everything from books and couldn't just build a machine simply like he could. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's nothing wrong with learning from books. And there's a difference between learning from books where it's like, I've never seen this material before, so I'm going to pick up a book and do stuff and figure out how to do it. And there's the even more so, like going to school. One of the things that I always found at university and high school was I could learn from a book really quickly. Why was I in a class? Why was there a professor teaching me poorly from the book? So, quick story, when I started at university, which I highly regret, but I did have some good experiences, and one of them was I got there on a Tuesday, and we had a class lotto and just worked out that I had certain classes, and so I ended up having a class on programming where they handed out the syllabus. It was the only class where they handed out the syllabus. And my following day, I had no classes. I would the week later, but that first day, they didn't start the classes on my second day. It was a weird scheduling thing. So I had a full day, but I had moved several states away. I grew up in New York. I moved to Michigan for university. So I was at university. I knew no one. I had no excess money. I was very poor. My parents weren't poor. I was very poor. And I was living on campus, and I had no car, partially because I was really poor. So the only thing I had to do, quite literally, was study. And I had only one class that had given us a syllabus. So at the luck of the draw, I took the only book I had and the only list of projects to do, read the book, did all the projects. So Tuesday was my class, Wednesday was my day off, Thursday I went back to the same class. So it was the first day where we were going to start the class. I walked up to the professor and I handed him a floppy, which dates me a bit. I said, there we go. Do I have to come back to class? He's like, what's this? I'm like, I'm done. I finished the class. The final, the exams, every project for the year, all done. It's on there. He's like, what? And he popped it into a computer, looked at it on the spot, made the class wait. And he's like, you want a job? And that's when I went to work teaching programming at the university. So that was a great experience because it really helped reinforce how useless the classes were, how unprepared the other students to me were. Like, why was I in a class with these students? Because they weren't interested in learning the way that I was. They weren't motivated. Like, the gap was huge. Like, none of them had done anything, and I was ready to be done and ready to teach them the material before they had even cracked the book open. But it also taught me alternative approaches, not to be afraid to just do the thing that, the ability to do the work inevitably will trump other things. But as a person who has now for a quarter century owned a company that hires people who do that, right? One of the things is we want people who are self-teachable, who are teaching themselves, self-taught, because it demonstrates something we need, which is the ability to keep learning. Because when you get into the field, you can't call up a professor and be like, hey, there's a new technology or a new thing I need to do. Can you teach it to me? That doesn't work that way. You need to, go online, figure it out, grab a book, figure it out, just fire up a thing and figure it out. And so school and university, quite literally, not quite as much as, like, they do train you to be in prison, but they also train you to not feel the motivation to teach yourself, not have the initiative to teach yourself, to not feel pressure to educate yourself, even if you could. You're like, but that's not how people do it, so I'm not going to do that. I don't know how many people have said to me, well, yeah, but I'm not supposed to do that. I'm not supposed to learn, so I'm not going to. I feel like I'll get in trouble. School makes them feel like learning is bad, not just discourages them because it's extra work. It actually makes them feel a little bit scared, like that's wrong. So that was one of my learning stories. Sunrise, sunset, your non-school thing. Yep. Sunrise, there's the times. Joe says, also would love your opinion and thoughts about Guatemala City and Shayla. Would you ever consider these two cities as a possible destination to live in based on your experience and knowledge of LATAM? Yeah, absolutely. And I assume that you're watching, oh my gosh, Scott's channel, Scott Moore. There's got to be something more. Should be able to remember his last name based on his channel name. He and his wife are up there. They lived here in Matagalpa, and they watched my channel before they moved here. She's Nicaraguan, but they got a lot of their stuff watching me early on. So we were conversing before he moved here, all through the time he was living here. We never got to meet up. We just missed each other. And his channel was like 5 people when he first came. And then they decided to move on to Guatemala. So we've been following them pretty closely. So he's up in Shayla. So I have been really interested in Shayla for a long time, but have not gotten to spend time there. I think that everything I know about it, even before he was up there, I've been a big, Shayla has got to be this amazing place to consider. In a lot of ways, Shayla is the Leon of Guatemala. It's the second city. They're similar in size, but Shayla is very cool in weather, and we're very warm, so that's definitely a big difference. And it's got some mountains, so there's a lot of cool stuff going for it. It's a pretty safe area, and it's cheap. So absolutely, I think Shayla's a great option. For me now, having put in more time living in more parts of Latin America, from a very personal perspective, so it probably doesn't apply to you, Joe, but from a very personal perspective for me, if I was moving to a completely different place where Shayla is a lot like the city here in Leon, I'd be like, no, I like what I have in Leon. I don't want to go to Shayla even though the weather's nicer. But Guatemala City for me is a bit different. So now I've spent time in Guatemala City, so Shayla may have some just amazing things that just, I can't skip this. It's so perfect. But I'm not anticipating that. Although I do want to go hang out at the Temple of Minerva because my cat is Minerva. So that she has a temple to her, a full Roman temple built in Shayla. Pretty cool. So those who don't know, my cat is named after the patron pagan saint of Central America, Minerva. It's not actually. She's actually named after the character from Harry Potter, who in turn is named after the pagan patron saint-ish thing, the pagan god of Central America. Anyway, which is a patron saint, right? There is a matching, all pagan gods have a matching Catholic saint, right? Because that's what they are. The Catholic saints are just renames of the pagan gods. That's how it works. So especially here, they actually just carried over the full Roman everything and have a full Roman temple to Minerva there, which is funny. And it really out of place and cool. But Guatemala City is one of my favorite cities in the whole world. Absolutely amazing for me, at least. I love the big urban environment. I love the food selection. The cost of living is very approachable. Shayla is cheaper, but Guatemala City is so big that you've got this whole million restaurants and a million activities and museums and parks and zoos and just things, right? Lots and lots and lots of things, and they're all walking distance. And if you feel like going beyond walking distance, just bus and whatever, like getting around, everything's public transportation and Uber, super easy. My kids are very interested in Guatemala City for those reasons. They don't want to drive. They like big cities. That's their vibe, and it's my vibe. So my number one thing that would draw me out of Nicaragua, nothing's going to, right? I love Nicaragua, but if I could magically snap my fingers and have something that Nicaragua doesn't offer currently, it's a really big urban environment, and Guatemala City, Guate, is one of the best examples of that in the northern half of the Latin American world. Comparable cities to it that would compete with it on the larger sense include CDMX and Bogota, Lima, Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo, Rio, but that's waterfront, so it's a different vibe. Santiago, right? Those kinds of places have a similar city feel that's so nice and huge. Because the other place, like Cochabamba, small. I really like Cochabamba. If I was going to be in a small city like that, Cochabamba, really good. Guatemala. So if we, for any reason, were suddenly unable to, like, Nicaragua is just like, okay, we're done with you, you need to go. Guatemala City is where we would go. That is our instant, don't have to think about it, that's our next place. We hope that never happens. I hope that going there is just always a vacation spot for us. But my number one place to buy a condo to use as a vacation-y kind of thing is Guatemala City. There's no place that I want to spend my extra time more other than someplace new than Guatemala City. And it's not that far. So that I can take an easy flight, that I can take a shuttle. Like from Leon to Guatemala City is a shuttle. It's a long shuttle, but it's cheap and easy. That says something. So I've flown there and I have bussed there from here. Both were quite easy and not super expensive. So it's a great choice. It really is. And I recommend, if you feel, this is still for Joe, if you feel that those places look like they're really of interest to you, then you definitely want to spend some time there. Don't rule them out based on And if you have some concerns about them, let me know what they might be. I could speak to them probably. For us, I really think we were able to look at those and say, no, they might be really cool, but we really meshed with Nicaragua. Like, we knew Nicaragua was right. But we lived in 8 places, visited 40 countries. We didn't do it lightly. We did a lot of research. But we didn't go to Guatemala first. And I went with Yvonne 2 years ago, and she's like, you're going to fall in love with Guatemala and you're not going to come back to Nicaragua. And I'm like, I don't think that's the case, but I did love Guatemala so much more than I ever imagined I would. It's magical. It really is. And so my short list, it's my second choice country, and has remained, right? Nicaragua has managed to remain my number 1 choice country, but Guatemala has managed to remain. Even, I just spent time in Argentina, I spent time in Bolivia, I've spent time in Costa Rica recently, and Belize, and none of them, even though all of them are nice in their own ways, and some of them I really like, Bolivia, for example, none of them would give, to me, Guatemala a run for its money for me to move to. Visit, sure, but to actually, if I'm going to spend 6 months, 9 months living in a place, oh my gosh, yeah, Guatemala City would be my, and I completely didn't expect it to be that good. I was like, okay, a lot of people overlook it, a lot of people claim it's terrible, so most people are normally wrong. So it gives me a lot of faith that it's something I got to investigate. But when I went and spent time there, and I've been back, it as a large city, it feels like my home city. Like it's got that vibe. I'm just like, oh, I know where I am. I can walk around. I can do an Uber. Love the food. Love everything. It's great. Cafe culture, love it. Sit out in a cafe in Guatemala City because the weather's so nice. I just want to sit outside. People watch. It gives me enough of what I love about Europe and enough of what I love about the Mayan Empire that I just, it clicks. Nicaragua I find better for who my friends are here. Like, I just feel like I connect so well with the people. But Nicaragua, really, it's the people that push me over negatives in city structure or weather or that kind of stuff. Whereas in Guatemala, I like the structure of the cities, the weather, those kinds of things. The landscape I like better up there. It's a lot cooler weather for sure, and I just love those big urban cities. It is a super livable giant city. Jan says, hello, one of my daughters once told me, Mom, you're weird and Dad's weird in different ways, and I got both. And she was not happy, and about 20 years old at the time. Ishithik says, you're near the equator, complaining either the day is too long or too short is insane. Right? Right? You get me. That was a weird complaint. The bacon thing was weird enough, but complaining about how the sun goes across the least complainable part of the earth is super weird. Now, I once spent time in Oslo without thinking about what time of the year it was, and we were super weirded out by the fact that there was 21 hours of sunlight a day. We're just like, holy cow, we can't sleep. Okay, we didn't complain about it, and it was our fault for not checking what it was ahead of time or thinking about it. It was also super interesting. My eldest daughter and I stayed up and we're like, oh my gosh, the sun's just going down. What time is it? It's 1. Like, what? This is nuts. It was so cool. It probably wasn't 1. It was like 11. But it was like, this is crazy. 1 makes no sense. Yeah, you're completely right. How does one, and why would he complain about bacon? Just go to the right store. Like, what is wrong with you? Of course you can buy bacon, just you can't buy it in a random store you demand it to be in that no one would ever shop for bacon in. What? Dale says, hopefully Mr. Sunset gave up and left the country. He did. He was pissed off. Wouldn't want that kind of stupidity to catch hold in Nicaragua. Right. Oh, we were just talking about that. I was with an expat and a Nicaraguan who moved away as a child and then has moved back. Well, he has a great story. I want to get him on the show because he was telling this great story today about when he was a kid growing up, he and his dad, and probably a lot of other people, left, but his grandmother stayed behind. And so he grew up in Miami And they used to send some money to his grandmother, and he was always like, why? Why don't we just move her here and give her a great life in America like we have? Just move her here. And she wouldn't move. And he was like, she's so stubborn. And then when he was like 18-ish, he was doing a report, and he's like, okay, I'm an adult. I'm going to go visit my home country. It's where I was born. He was a citizen. And he's like, I'm going to go, tell some story. Like, he was proud of being Nicaraguan, but he didn't have like a Nicaraguan's awesome kind of thing. And he's like, maybe I'll convince my grandmother. But so he went and stayed with his grandmother, and he got down, and he like really quickly went, oh, this is why she doesn't leave. And he's been here for 18 years now, right? So he like never left. It's not quite that simple of a story, but it was like, he like came down and was all ready to be like, you got to move to America where it's great. And he was like, oh my gosh, Nicaragua's great. What was I thinking? Right? Really funny story of him rediscovering his own country and then being like, I've been wrong all this time. The propaganda convinced me of my own country not being good when I lived there and should have known it was good and my family didn't leave. It was funny, his kind of take on his life experience with that. That's correct, Itchethix. It's not just Nicaragua. It's Central America. We're near the equator. Right? It's not like just us. Yeah, does he not realize that like Costa Rica and Panama, like we're all in this like no seasonal change of sunlight zone? I don't know. The expectations that people have, some like, how do I prepare? Do you know it's warm? Like, do I have to like warn people? Man, I hurt my neck today. I'm trying to learn C++. Oh, this is PCI. Is that a good language for start someone without coding background? I'm about 2 weeks in. No, PCI, that is not a good language to be starting on. So first of all, let's talk about what your end goal is. If it's just to learn a language, I'm going to tell you right now, C++ is not a good one to learn. But what's your end goal in having learned a language? Because like I write papers on what you should learn. Like language education is one of my things. So let's definitely talk about this because I'm sure I can add hopefully some real value here. So I used to teach C++ specifically. I've written books on C#. Not so much books. I've written certification exams on C#. And I've taught a number of languages over the years. So I started my C, not C++, journey, I want to say it was with Aztec C. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe I remember the name. And I want to say 1988. I wonder if there's even like a wiki article on this old version of the C language that I used. I still remember. Okay, that's so funny. Aztec C language, Nahuatl comes up. Oh my gosh, everything. Oh, SXC, there we go. There's an actual Wikipedia article on a discontinued version. It was a compiler for CPM 80, which I do. I still have a CPM 80 machine. Apple II, Commodore 64. Okay, yep. I still remember the look and feel of the binder that it all came in. Oh, man, I miss 1980s computers. Like, I really do. There was a magic to using computers back then, to the whole like, because everything had to come on physical media and everything had to be in a binder and you had to have like instructions. Like there was just a tangible something to it that we're missing now. Of course, I don't want to go back to those days exactly. And so much, I wonder how much of it is it was wonderful because it was my childhood. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Aztec C remains under copyright. Harry Sakau is the copyright holder. That's some crazy stuff. Why would they keep that under copyright? Like, come on, people. It's been 40 years. Where are the years? There's no years on this, so I don't know exactly. They're just saying in the 1980s, but I feel like here they're talking about really strong in 1989. I really feel like I was using it around 88, 89. Anyway, let's. I don't need to wax poetic about a language. Good professor, though, to recognize that. Yeah, that was a good professor. He was one of my good ones. Edwin, have an example. Iceland, Greenland, Alaska, North Canada, Arctic, etc. in summer because the Earth banks far north. In those places, sun never sets. When winter is coming, it's the opposite. Yep, exactly. In digital format, I hate to say go AI. AI is not good at those things. Like, it's good for helping to learn some things. It's good for some boilerplate. I've yet to see anyone actually solve anything like that through AI, because large language models don't understand what they're doing, and so because it's language to language, they have some capabilities that you don't have with other things, but where AI really falls short is in really making things that are as you defined. I thought Guate was super dangerous unless you're in Zona 6. This is PCI. No. So Zona 6 is safe, obviously. That's Cajala, which is ridiculously expensive. Tons of Guate is safe. So remember, Guate is a single city, is roughly the same size as Nicaragua as a country. And so when you're thinking about how areas that are safe, Guate has enormous areas that are very safe, right? Areas of millions of people that are super safe. So Zona 10, very safe. 14, 6, 4, and tons that I don't know, right? Now, I've been in 21. That was pretty dangerous. So it also has dangerous areas. But I was hanging out with a guy who owns a British pub in Zona 10. Zona 10, and I asked him specifically about it because I was out walking. I walked all over the city. Oh, Zona 9's fine. I walked from the airport to wherever I'm going. I'll just get off at the airport and start walking. And I walked with my 24-year-old cute little Mexican CEO, and we just walked all over the city, the two of us. We walked from the airport to Zona 6, which is like a 3-hour walk, right? She's like, oh, this is great. She grew up in Mexico. She's like, no, that's not dangerous. We can walk anywhere. But I spent some time with this guy at the pub because I was there and no one else was with me at the time. And we spent some time talking about it. And I'm like, you're British. Like, what do you think about the safety here? And he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, people who have run into danger problems, like something bad happens anywhere. But people who are finding like danger in Guatemala City are idiots, because it's really clear when you're in an area that's not safe at night, but safe during the day, and safe all the time. He's like, all these areas around here, North Airport, everything's safe all the time. 2 a.m. you can walk these streets, no worries. Really good coverage of police, very, very safe, always alive. It's a living city. It's a giant city. Yes, it is a huge city. So when you get into rough neighborhoods, there are some rough neighborhoods. I've been to some epic rough neighborhoods. I also hung out at a drug dealer's grandmother's birthday party that I got dragged into in Zona 21 with, like, we were really thankful every time the police drove by. But it was fine. But if you think about how many people it has, and you think about, okay, so I can be in a zone of 3 million people and be, like, really safe. The fact that there's another zone somewhere really far away, or relatively far away, that's not safe, that, like, okay, that's like, I'm in Nicaragua, that's safe. The country next to us isn't safe. So I don't go there, right? Like, that's, when you're talking about populations that big in the city, that's actually what you're comparing. So it's a funny kind of thing. But no, Guatemala City, I was talking about this with somebody in the last 2 days. They were talking about how when you're in, like, Costa Rica, and the danger is not that high in Costa Rica, but what danger there is tends to impact tourists. Tourists are the targets of a certain amount of the crime there. And when you're talking about Guatemala, from a danger standpoint, violence standpoint, that violence is almost all directed at other violent criminals, right? Like gang members with gang members, or people in really bad neighborhoods with, like, inner city fighting kind of stuff. Things that, as an expat or as a even remotely lower middle class Guatemalan or a tourist, are never going to cross your minds to be involved in. Like, are you really going to use your time living in Guatemala to seek out a cartel and look for a job? Probably not. In which case, are you going to wander through really rough neighborhoods that look like war zones of Chicago? No, you wouldn't do that in Chicago either, but there's plenty of nice places in Chicago. Okay, there's a few nice places in Chicago. But unlike Chicago, Guatemala City has lots of really good stuff. I like Chicago, it's okay. So you can self-select places like Guatemala City to be really, really safe for you, and a really safe experience, and no problem. Like, I would never question raising my kids in Guatemala City. Totally easy, totally safe. Same thing we use as an example here in Nicaragua. If you compare traffic fatality rates between Nicaragua and the United States. They're basically exactly the same. Like, we're spot on, exactly the same. You get behind the wheel of a car here or in the United States, your chances of surviving to your destination are essentially identical on average. The difference is, like in Guatemala, so if you go to Costa Rica and say, what are your chances of surviving just walking down the street? Well, you'd have to look at the national numbers and you say, well, this is about the crime rate, that's about how much risk I'm in, and that's true. But if you said the same thing in the United States and you had, it has lower crime than Costa Rica, but it still has some, you say, what are my chances of getting somewhere? Well, most of the time, the U.S. leans towards crime between criminals, right? The average, like if you do safe things in the U.S., you're generally going to be safe. It should be that even stupid things keep you safe. And the world's not perfect. So we're not claiming it is, but we're saying that you can make the choice in a otherwise dangerous place to be safe. With Nicaraguan driving, the thing is, in the United States, you have all these safety precautions and stuff, and this is the fatality rate. Nicaragua, basically no one wears helmets and no one wears seatbelts. Someone does, but not very many people. So when we have a high fatality rate, a really high rate of that is people who are crashing without any safety gear. The United States can't effectively, significantly lower their traffic accidents unless they get people to not drive, which is not going to happen. And Nicaragua is going to really struggle to get people to actually put helmets on or actually buckle their seatbelts. But you and your family can make a personal choice to put on seatbelts or to wear helmets when on a bike. And in doing so, you essentially guarantee that accident isn't going to apply to you. So even though Nicaragua has a highway death rate nearly identical to the United States, your behavior in Nicaragua will make you essentially never have a risk of a serious accident. But in the United States, no matter what choice you make, if you're behind the wheel or in a car, you have a certain risk. It's not a high risk, but it's still a risk that you can make go away here. So that ability for you to affect the outcome of the risk is an important consideration. I should do a video on that, because some places like Costa Rica, you cannot significantly influence the risk. The risk is the risk. But Guatemala for violence or Nicaragua for traffic accidents, safety, are things that you in that country basically decide how safe you're going to be. Edwin says, before you go, this weekend is Formula One Mexico City Grand Prix taking place at Hermanas Rodriguez Autodrome. Cool, awesome. Janet says, bummer, I have to go teach a class. This has been really fun. I know you are leaving early today. See you later. Bye, Janet. I'll see you tomorrow at Via Via. Hopefully it is Cadejo with Milvio is singing. James says, here, restart 3 Mile Island to power AI for Microsoft. Oh, I heard about that. In digital format, CompuServe. Oh, I remember CompuServe. CompuServe is actually after my time rather than before. That stuff happened like during the era when I was away from all that stuff. Edwin says, PCI would like to visit Guatemala until you said Zone 6. There are gangs, same as Honduras. There are gangs, yeah, but it's a little bit safer than Honduras. PCI says, definitely don't want to do front-end development. I chose C++ because of its role in finance. It has a role in finance, but it's not. So there's a couple things. One is its role in finance is relatively small. You're looking at someone like Jane Street. They're using OCaml. You're looking at someone like Citigroup. They're going to be using a lot of R. They're going to be using a lot of Go. C++ has a role in most industries, but mostly it's a background role. Not 100%, some places use it. But no matter what, it has really heavy garbage collection and memory management that aren't good for learning a language, and it's just not a good learning language. It's kind of like, I want to learn a new language. I heard Mandarin is really useful. Well, it is. That's totally correct. But it's also super hard, and learning Mandarin does very little to lead you to another language that's probably more useful in day-to-day life. So it's not generally a good starter language unless you're Chinese and that's the language you need to order dinner in at home. I would say, I always say, right, if you're learning a language, you learn Python. You need to learn how to program and spend your time learning programming, which Python is really good at, before you spend your time learning a language. Obviously, you have to learn Python. But the thing about Python is that Python gets out of the way. You spend extremely little time learning Python and an awful lot of time learning to program. With C++, it's the opposite. You end up spending all your time learning the language and very little time left over to actually learn what it is you're doing with that language. It's all maintenance of the language. It's a great language. It has a lot of really important features. But as someone who has companies that do software and have for, like, I've been a professional developer since 1989, 35 years. Never once have I run a team that worked in C++. Never. It's impractical. As a company that makes good new choices on software, it would be really hard for us to be like, C++, that's the right language for the project we're doing. It just doesn't come up. PHP, Go, JavaScript. There was a time when Java, GDScript, C#, all of those have a really useful place. Lua, Python, like there's lots of things we use every day. C++ is a super specialty thing that pretty much if you need it, it's a good time to go learn it. And if you are just learning, learn things that are more broadly useful and then transition to C++ and learn what's different. Then you'll see your programming as one thing and only have to learn the quirks of C++ additionally. I think you'll find that you'll actually find learning C++ faster if you don't start with it. If your end goal is C++, which I don't think it is. If your end goal is C++, I would still start with something else, like Python. But I think almost certainly if you start with Python and then maybe learn C#, or Go, or something really likely useful in day-to-day development, that you will almost certainly be like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't use C++. I'm never going to use that. But these other things are super useful, and I can use them at least from time to time. I really think something else would be good. But Python is always what we recommend. Until you know how to program, Python. In digital format, what's her name? The CEO? That's Valentina. Everyone says, good night, Scott. Take care tomorrow. Drive safely. Thanks. Yeah, I'm going to be signing off here in just a few. In digital format, safety is relevant to your behavior, especially here. Right? In the United States and a lot of places, yeah, you influence your safety, but to a small degree. And here you almost completely control it, which several of us said that today. Like that came up and we were all like, yeah, I didn't think about it. Living in Nicaragua, I'm safe all the time. I'm only dangerous when I choose to be dangerous. In the United States, I'm dangerous if I'm in a mall. I'm dangerous if I'm driving to the grocery store. Those things have a much higher risk that I don't need to take here. I can if I want to. I don't want to. Dale says speed kills. Yeah, US drives so much faster. Here, everything's so slow. Seatbelts really do save you when you're at 30 miles an hour. And that's, okay, we're not always at 30, but we're often at 30, 40. Our seatbelts are super effective. If you're doing 100 and you hit someone doing 100 in the United States, your seatbelt just cuts you in half. James says, do they still have combat zone in Boston? If you take 6 most violent cities in the States, out of violent global ratings goes from 4th to 126. In digital, have you seen them? What is it that I may have seen? I'm not sure what the question is. Does she have a show yet? She does not. So she really dislikes being on the show. I try to get her on all the time, and she will be on a little bit. So she has been on in Guatemala, and her office is in Buenos Aires. So I do have some upcoming footage from Buenos Aires where you'll see her briefly. But she really doesn't like being on the show, and so you basically never see her. It really sucks because she's so much fun, and her English is perfect. But she can go back and forth between English and a lot of different Spanish dialects, which is cool. So you can get a lot of she'd be so good for so many things. And for a couple of years, we talked really seriously about doing the show together, traveling around. But she is just kind of decided that it's not something she can do, which is really unfortunate because her mother was a professional television anchor woman throughout her childhood. So it's in her family to do that stuff. But just not her thing, unfortunately. So, nope, we're not getting her on. All right, guys, it is after 10. I promised we'd wrap up at 10. We still got a lot of people on. I really appreciate it. We had a really good group today, a lot of good discussion. We never slowed down. This was actually kind of a good run because we had so much. So we were only 3.5 hours. So that should have been a little bit longer because I didn't start on time. That would have been better. I think if we did 4 hours, I love doing the really long shows, and I definitely want to do one of those marathons where we try to do a full day. Like, that would be super fun and stressful, but it would be good, right? Just go all day, and I just have I have to make some like bathroom break video stuff, but it would be really cool to go for a marathon and have like a full day and just people just popping in and out all throughout the day, and that would be really cool. But yeah, time to go get in that car. Oh yeah. Joe, I forgot we had answered so many things for you, or whatever. The Guatemala stuff had triggered that. But definitely check them out. It's wonderful. And watch my episodes on Guatemala, of course, and leave questions there. But I loved filming up there and look forward to doing a lot more. Want to get I'm getting my car set up so that I'll be able to drive up there once things clear here. And but yeah, Ishithix, leave them wanting more. We tend to do the show to the point where it's like, oh, is there any more questions? Can we get anything? Like, anybody? Everybody's falling asleep. It's a little bit rough. And this is good where it's like, okay, there's clearly no need to answer anything. No one's like, no, but I'm coming and I need this answer. But there's still engagement. So it's been a really good time. And the chat rate is up to 4. That is not, I don't remember the last time we had that level of chat rate on the show. Views are a little bit less because we didn't go for so long, but, in reality, I could do 2 live streams during the week instead of 1 if I did them for shorter. The band is Peligroso, I think. Wait, what did I miss in digital? Good show. I don't know what we're referencing for the show. You didn't get the link. I did not get the link. You cannot put in digital. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, you can't put links. It is a universal thing. Emails and links are banned in live streams because YouTube can't guarantee where the link goes to, and so they don't. It's not an option for me to allow it. They never let you put one in. I can put one in because I'm the moderator, but I'm not able to give that permission to anyone else. All right, I am heading essentially straight to bed. I really appreciate all you guys. Remember, you're welcome to join the channel with that join button. It's $5 a month. We do have that secret group where you can chat all during the week. That is pretty cool. It's a neat little group of people in there, and that has been growing. We're getting like 1-2 people per week, which is really super cool. That's, I didn't want to turn it on originally because I didn't know that it would work or not, or if people would appreciate it. But it's been good, and it's really helping the channel. So I really appreciate everybody who has joined the membership thing. And of course, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. That helps as well. We have tomorrow night, if anyone's in town, Via Cadejo is playing with Milvio, which I mentioned. I'm sure we're trying to be there at least. I don't know what's going on over the weekend. I feel like my brain is going to melt out my ears. I'm almost looking, if it wasn't so early in the morning, I'm looking forward to the Managua trip because I don't have to do anything. I'm going to drive, I'm going to sit in the car, and I'm going to veg because I'm not the one, I just have to get people where they need to go. And then November 2nd, is the party at Desperados on the beach. Anyone who's going to be in the country, change your plans and make sure you're going out there. And everyone, keep in mind, we are talking about maybe doing a steak tour. I have no idea when that might make sense, but it sounds really fun. I need to work out the exact locations that we would go to first. It's going to take a bit of research to even put together a plan, and I want to put together a really cool itinerary. But I think if we set a date, that I just kind of have to do it. And then I'd put together something really cool. It'd be really fun. So I really want to do that. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night, and I will see all of you tomorrow.